All right, we are alive, folks. Welcome to Awesome Talk Quarantine Edition number 20 on December 18th, 2020. The last Awesome Talk of 2020 is tonight. What a year. I mean, really, it's been like being in a fucking time machine. It's like never mind. I'm not going to quote Louis C.K., but he did make a joke once where he said that like being a parent is like being trapped in a time machine, except it takes the actual amount of time for the time to go by, and then you step out and it's a whole other world. 2020 has felt like it's gone by super fast and exactly super slow at the same fucking time. But tonight we have some great guests for you. Kristen Sarai is back on tonight, and Matt Hill is on tonight, and he is going to be performing this evening. So welcome, guys.
Oh, this is lovely. I'm so happy from the bosom down, invisible, and from the bosom up on some stone steps.
What?
Yeah, this is like.
Like, how did this even happen?
Huh?
Like, how did this even happen? Because
what?
How are you not seeing?
What do you mean?
I'm not looking at Skype.
Yeah, well, now you kind of have to. Nothing I say will make it make sense.
All right.
All right, I'm looking at Skype right now. What's the problem?
We are
You're not seeing this?
on
No.
stone steps. Yes, he does. He has to see this.
No, I don't see anything.
We are on stone fucking steps, dude.
What? No, I don't see anything. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
All right.
Here, look in chat.
I have no idea how this happened.
Look in Skype chat.
So,
How did
okay.
that happen?
Can I say something? When you guys said that we're on stone steps, I could not have possibly. I thought you said you were on stone's steps.
Oh no, not the person.
Like my step.
Yes, yeah, like stones.
He thought you meant bikes.
So here's the thing: the way Skype looks to me is completely normal, and the way it looks to everybody watching right now, it looks completely normal.
I'm gonna post a screenshot so people know what we're dealing with.
I have sincerely. I see it. I have.
No, I mean for
You see
the
that?
viewers to see it because they
I
don't
ruined
know.
my view just to show you.
How did that? That's not what I see. How did that happen?
I don't know.
It's a
hilarious.
complete mystery.
I couldn't tell you. I love that everybody is like popping. So for people who are watching, you can't apparently like so we all get into the show, right? And there's a Skype feed, and apparently what happened when I went live is a picture of like stone stairs showed up, and then everybody's head is popping up from behind a different stair. And I can't even explain it better than that. I can't believe this is fucking happening, dude. Hey, what's up, Mike? How's it going, dude? So let me go about the business of sharing this, and then we'll do that. So how does it still look that way for you guys?
Yeah,
It's not going away.
it's just like this now. This is our life,
This
guys.
is big
This is how we
2020
live.
energy.
This
Living
is
in
how we
Africa.
live.
I don't know what to say because like
I'm not against it.
it looks fun. It looks fun.
What is it?
We look like some Fraggles or something.
I just like when you're like telling me we don't see this. We're on stone steps. I'm like, and I'm looking at Stone's window going, I don't
That's
see any
why
fucking
I said
steps.
No matter how I describe it, you're not going to be able to picture what the hell I'm actually saying.
There's no way I could have known. No way I could have known.
Yeah.
Dude, it's funny that Matt Hill looks like he just reached behind a rock and grabbed a beer.
He did. That's his personal rock over there.
That's where I keep my beer. I mean,
Got some from over here.
Anything is possible, but the stone steps actually managed to make stones look less lurkery and more just
Lurkery.
hanging out.
It looks like he's
can't
about to
believe-
sell bread in the Middle East.
He's a real bread seller.
He sells bread.
Hi, Mike.
Step shit is bugging me out. What's going on here? How do we stop this?
I'm fine with it.
Maybe
I
we
can-
should change the grid, like the view.
I don't know. I say we just leave it.
Okay.
What's weird is I don't have that view on my end, so I don't know where it came from, but I
Yeah,
definitely don't
that's
have
the
it.
now
most
it's gone.
amazing.
You could switch it to grid
It's gone?
view.
Did you say it's gone?
You could just switch it yourself. You just click the thing. Yeah, I switched it.
All right.
Yeah, but what was it? There was no other option.
No idea.
Right by the users. It looks like the full screen button. It's weird, like up
There's
top.
the
Yeah,
thing
but
that says
there's no
And then
like
just click-
amphitheater option though.
I clicked grid view. There's speaker view. Oh,
I put it on
Yeah,
together
review.
mode.
You
I'm back
can't go
to normal.
back. Yeah, you can't go back.
Well, whatever.
Once you're on the
Oh, well.
steps, you're there for life.
Nobody knows what the hell we're talking about.
nobody
Yeah.
knows. Yeah.
So anyway, welcome to the show, guys. Last show of the year.
That's true.
What's up, Tom? How's it going? So here's what I wanted to talk about first. And I think this is like the perfect group to talk about it with. You know, and thank God we have a show here going on and everything. So something that I've noticed recently, and it's like a trend. Can you mute? And it's like
Who? Me?
no, Sarah, because we're in the same room, so that's why you get a feedback loop. If one of us doesn't mute while the other one's talking, that's what happens. But hey Janine, what's up? So I noticed a trend recently that I'm actually enjoying, and I think is the right move. And I thought this a long time ago, but I've noticed that people are dropping videos to YouTube now, and just immediately before anything happens, they just turn off the fucking comments section now. And I have to say that I kind of agree with that, because I'm like, okay, so like when you do a show like this, it's live. You want people to comment because they're interacting with something live, right? But if you post a music video or something, not everybody gives a shit about everyone's critique and opinion. You know what I mean? So I've noticed like Eminem's new album just came out, and he's got like like a picture video out for each song. And I noticed that, Eminem is, he's got 45 million subscribers. Like, he's enormous. And I noticed that all the fucking new videos, he just shut the comments off. And that's not the first guy I've seen do that. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've seen that happen with news broadcasts and different musical artists and hip hop artists and all kinds of people. And I noticed they've just been
does that?
Huh?
North Korea does that.
That's right. That sounds like some fascist takeover of the internet. You were like, well, not everyone cares about your comments, but the truth is, then don't fucking read them. Like, I'm not saying I'm for or against it as much as I'm just saying, like, you have to take some responsibility for the fact that you're fucking going through the trouble of reading the comments you say you don't care about.
Well, that was
Yeah, but I don't know. Like the comments, a lot of the comments that I see lately, it's just a bunch of worthless squabbling about nothing and just people just being dicks.
Dude, you're totally right. Like,
it's a stressor. It's a stress factor.
Like I was I was looking at this. Okay, so I don't want to do any spoilers for Star Wars, so I don't want to say too much. But somebody who was on The Mandalorian recently did a tweeted, and they tweeted about the show. And some people just had to start commenting about communism and socialism and Trump. And it's like, this has motherfucking nothing to fucking do with that. And everywhere you go, you're just being infected with this all over the place. So I could see some people just deciding to be like, look, I don't really, if you like the song, give it a thumbs up. I don't need a paragraph. What do you think?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah?
Because people are fucking dicks. So just why not let them just, hey, I made a piece of music. Here it is. Enjoy. I don't care what you have to say about it. Just, if you buy it, you buy it. You listen to it, it gets a view. That's all they need to generate.
I think I just feel like the ideology.
Yeah, I think it's more American that they have the choice to turn it on and off. God damn it.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah. It's pretty American.
I mean, I don't like it. I don't. I just think it's stupid. Like, why now? Why at this point? Like, YouTube's been around for so long. We've had, like, since I've been on the internet, there's always been shitty YouTube comments. So, like, why turn it off now?
Do you know why people turn off comments on their videos? Because they know it sucks. That's why they do. That's always been an indication of the quality of the video that it's going to be.
But don't you also kind of agree that, like, YouTube especially is like a cesspool of fucking like the only thing worse is fucking 4chan, and it's like I just wonder if after a while some people are like, all right, I'm tired of the racism, I'm tired of the sexism, I'm tired of the fucking tidal wave.
Might as well just leave the planet then. Shit.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't want to deal with real life. You know,
I agree.
Dude, I'm not against that. Like when they were doing the whole thing with like trying to find people that were willing to go to Mars, but you're never coming back. I was like, I want to do that. I know they wouldn't take someone that needs insulin, but and Rick was like, you would really do that? I was like, fuck, that's my dream, to leave the planet. Are you kidding me, dude? I would be so happy. Like,
I want to be
really
yeeted off the earth.
it would just be amazing. Like, I can't even believe that there are people that would second guess how great that would be. Like, don't you live here?
Oh, I don't know. I just think it's so like, there are certain people that I can understand censoring from YouTube, like Alex Jones, definitely I would like censor him 100%. But then like, I really don't care what Tucker Carlson says, or even like Ann Coulter, who like is controversial. Like, I don't give it time or attention. But I don't like the.
But what if like people with their own political agenda hijacks it? You know what I mean?
That's already happened.
To make something great. That's why people are shutting it off, I think. So
I think
they're not letting like a Trump supporter or the presidential situation take over like a piece of music that they put out that has nothing to do with it, or a TV show, or
well, like I said, I saw today when a Star Wars actor posted about the Mandalorian, and you just see people like purposely like infiltrating because number one, it's somebody with millions and millions of followers who's obviously going to be hot on that platform at the moment because of what's going on. And I feel like there's a push, especially from the conservative side lately, to just interject whatever the hell is going on politically in the world.
Yeah, no matter what.
No matter what. They go, oh, so-and-so tweeted. That means that millions of people are going to be reading it. Let's talk about Trump here. And like, that sounds like nuts that people would do that until you go to that tweet and you read the comments and you see it start to get hijacked. And then the more people that make Trump comments, the more people that feel like it's their duty to start fighting back against the Trump comments. And now all of a sudden, it's not even about the Mandalorian anymore.
Yeah, I'll tell you. So, like, what sums up this frustration for me is like everybody that's commenting, like, whenever any of the governors or anything like that are posting something about, like, the whole, obviously, the bullshit going on medically. There's all these people who are like, oh, hey, buddy, you should take the vaccine first. You should take the vaccine first before the rest of us do. Why don't you and your family take it first? Like as a dig, like all the politicians should take it first in case something goes wrong. And then you see something else where like the politicians are taking it first, and then everyone's like, can you believe this? This is outrageous that they're taking it first. And it's just like, well, fuck, man. Like, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, like that's the part that I'm not offended at all that the comments or sections are turned off. Because it's like everybody's trapped. Everyone's trapped in this corner where no matter what the move is, doesn't matter what the fuck it is, you're wrong. And like that's like how many times can you just view that blatant hypocrisy and just when do you get just turned off by it and not want to fucking view it anymore?
How else do you come to the real truth of the matter though? If everybody's wrong in both situations, that means there's some kind of middle ground that has to be found. Right.
Yeah, okay, but what if it was a video that was asking for a response like that? A political video. That's a place where you comment on that.
It's totally different, but you're wearing a ghost shirt, right? I mean, if you go to a ghost post and all of a sudden they're calling you a fucking communist.
Or a Satanist, not active. And not realizing that it's a goddamn story. Like, the guy has
I think it's the same. I think it's the same team. I think it's just. I think it's members of the same team. I think it's all. You're just dealing with this fractured ideology that no matter what you do, you're gonna have a large swath of people screaming at you that you're a fucking asshole, regardless if you do or don't do whatever the amount of. You know what I mean? Like I think there's so many things in life that are gray, and people want it to be black and white. And they push the black and white bullshit, and it's like it makes me ill to my. It makes me sick to my stomach. It makes me want to.
Dude, let me tell you something. I see you engaging more with assholes online than I've ever seen you do before, because I can see you getting fed up with one ignorant statement after the next. And I think I said something the other day about Phil Murphy. What amazes me is that there's actual real legitimate things you could go after Phil Murphy for. There's actual legitimate things he has fucked up. But when he goes, so and so many people died yesterday, and people are like, well, fuck you and your dinner, motherfucker. It's like, dude,
right, like,
there are real legitimate things you could critique, you could bring to the table, but like the internet doesn't do that. The internet still, after all this time, just pulls the most vomit out of a person's brain.
So what I used to like about the comment section was like you would get, you know, your mainstream narrative, right? And then you could go into the comment section and you could kind of find these fringe articles or these fringe belief systems, and then ask people for sources to be able to give you information, to be able to maybe see things at like multiple angles. And what I've noticed happen now is that people just, they see a headline, they grab onto it, they vomit it out into the fucking stratosphere, and then you go to look it up, and it's based on bullshit and nothing. And it's just, you know, like this whole fucking Bell's palsy bullshit. Like they're like, oh, you know, 4 people got Bell's palsy in the vaccine trial. So, you know, I'm not taking that shit. No fucking way. And it's just like, listen, 15 to 20 people out of every 100,000 people in the entire population every year gets Bell's palsy. So you can make the same argument that the vaccine cuts the risk of Bell's palsy in half, you fucking asshole dickheads. Like, you know, like that's the part that like, you know, like don't sit there and I mean, seriously, and I you know, after sifting through a bunch of bullshit, I found a couple of legitimate fucking reasons to be concerned about, you know, taking the vaccination. But all the major ones, all the ones that people were screaming about, it was all garbage. And the ones that are valid and legitimate, the real chances and possibilities of those things happening, like there's that whole 6-sided thing with the, you know, possibly the immune system will attack the placenta. The chances of that happening are so fucking slim, but it is a very slim possibility. And like, okay, I'm happy that I know that information. I got a direct link to the FDA summary that Pfizer submitted. I read through that whole FDA summary, like directly from the FDA website. And I was happy to actually see, you know, the trials and what they found in each percentage of patients and everything like that. Like I was happy to be able to see what was going on in those patients. Like
right. But dude, but so now a new problem has emerged.
But the vast bulk of it was sifting through bullshit.
Right. But dude, but what you just said is logical and all, but like the problem is that now the next thing that happens, the next thing that has been twisted is that now, dude, and I can't even fucking. So listen, man, like we talk about in the show about how sometimes people have reacted the way that they do because they've been bullshitted for so long. And I was just about to say that people are irrationally not listening to the FDA and saying the FDA is lying, right? And to me, at first, it sounds like a rational statement. But then I also think to myself, yeah, and they also tell me that this bunch of bullshit over here is healthy for me when it's fucking not.
Yep.
And they also fucking tell me that I should eat this and this is a balanced diet and it's garbage. And then they fucking let this fucking thing out in the public. They put out thalidomide like that was fucking okay. And it's like.
But here's the thing. It was the summary that Pfizer submitted, and there's this whole controversy about you can't sue any of these companies if you get injured by the vaccine, but that's not how medical ethics works. There's a whole do no harm ethics part of the medical field where, like, all right, to take for instance, years ago there was a valid HIV vaccine that came out, right? There was an HIV vaccine that worked for the vast bulk of people. What ended up happening, the reason that vaccine got discontinued was because when they brought it out, apparently some of the population had the AIDS virus in their system unwittingly. And when they took the HIV vaccine, it brought that AIDS virus to the surface. So the whole do no harm thing. Now that vaccine would have changed history, changed the trajectory, but because of the do no harm in medical ethics, they discontinued it because you would be actively harming people in that process. Now there's a fine line between doing active harm and side effects. Now, here's the thing about, okay, so all we're privy to as the public is this fucking summary. Now, this whole lawsuit thing against these vaccine companies is like, you can sue them if they're acting in bad faith. So if there's a cover up somewhere, the cover up would be able to be sifted through. And the reason I say that is because these companies, there's something like, they say the amount of paperwork that these companies submit to the FDA is if you put the papers on top of each other, it would be like the height of the Sears Tower. So like, there's no way especially in that window of time, that a company would be able to sift through everything to be able to cover something up without it being able to come to light eventually. So, this is where I have trouble with like people like, they just automatically assume, yes, we have been fucked. We have been fucked. And that's other countries can't understand where our mentality comes from, where we're suspicious of everything. It's because we've been fucked repeatedly by all of these same fucking people. And I get that. But at the same fucking time, you got to understand that there's so many hands. There's at a certain point when so many people are involved in something that you have to trust. You have to trust the masses of professionals. That's the people that don't trust that climate change, is real. But everything says massive amounts of scientists. And let me tell you. I grew up with engineers, a lineage of engineers. I know plenty of scientists, and most of them don't give a fuck about your politics. They think politics is vile and disgusting. So they don't give a shit about your fucking politics, and they're still saying the same goddamn message, the vast bulk of them. So we're just supposed to ignore it because we've been fucked over by these other fucking people? It doesn't add up. It doesn't equate.
It's exactly like, I kind of like was on the fence about talking about this because I was actually talking to Rick about doing another Life with Lyme episode to talk about it, but I've kind of been unsure about whether to do that. So like, because of my history with Lyme and stuff like that, I'm a member of a lot of like chronic Lyme disease groups and stuff, and I hear the general vibe that goes on in there, and it's been really disappointing and really frustrating, even though I understand it. So like, especially for people with chronic Lyme disease, because that's a situation where you had IDSA members that all had financial ties to people that make testing kits or vaccine kits or whatever, who are actively denying that chronic Lyme disease exists and that people need to be treated long-term with antibiotics over or past a 3-week span. I mean, it was very clearly basically a conspiracy of people who were going to benefit from putting out very specific treatment guidelines that thousands of doctors then had to follow and hurt their patients essentially. Really it comes to the point where there are doctors who are scared to treat Lyme disease over 3 weeks because they get their medical license taken away. And so this is a huge conspiracy. So I completely understand people that are like, oh, I don't really trust the IDSA. Oh, I don't really trust the CDC. They were involved in really ruining my fucking life. But I come from a place where I'm like, do you guys really think the IDSA is made up of 12 members of a fucking, guidelines writing committee? It's not. It's made up of thousands of doctors. Like, the CDC is made up of thousands of scientists. I would never believe that every fucking one of those people is as corrupt as the people who wrote the Lyme disease guidelines. Like, yes, some of those guideline writing members are very prominent doctors, but they're not all of the doctors. They're not all of the scientists. And the Lyme community, as far as what I have seen, has been a majority of people saying, masks, I'm not fucking listening to these people. I'm not taking your vaccine. I'm not doing this. And it's like, how dare you? Like, we're coming from a position where every fucking day, people are telling us what you have isn't real. You have a mental disorder. You're a hypochondriac. You're making this up. Yet you're going to fucking sit there and say a virus is a hoax, and you have people telling you, I have this. It's fucking real. Why won't you listen to me? You're like, these Lyme people are fucking hypocrites, dude. I've been on that side where it's all made up, where people tell you you're making this shit up. You're making it sound worse than it is. You're not really suffering the way you say. You're fucking, it's all in your fucking head. I've had a friend institutionalized because people fucking said that it was in her head when she really had fucking neurological Lyme disease. And it's like, how are these fucking people seriously going to do the same thing to another group of sick people and just totally eradicate it based on what happened to them? It should be a way of being way more on guard, but to deny an entirely other group of people from existing the way you've been denied is so fucking embarrassing. I've been so utterly ashamed of what the Lyme disease community has been doing after this pandemic that, like, it's hard to fucking fathom. And the amount of friends that I've actually lost from that community because after this pandemic started is it's a little heartbreaking. It really is. But, like, it, once again, it is very fucking political, making it like Lyme disease was one of the few and the only one that I've ever been a group of personally, highly politicized illnesses. And we saw that with AIDS and we saw it with Lyme, and now we're seeing it with this pandemic. And there's nothing that will muddy the fucking waters of science faster in a medical setting than to politicize it. And it's just,
I was working with an I'm sorry.
It's just sickening. It's fucking terrible. People are dying because it's being politicized.
I was working with an anti-masker today, and I looked at him and I said, I took bloodborne pathogens 20 years ago to ride on an ambulance. And I said, one of the things that they told me back then was if you encounter a patient that has tuberculosis or meningitis or something that's communicable and you don't have an N95 mask, put something over your face. And if you remember, like in the early days of the pandemic on Awesome Talk, before they were recommending masks, I was like, I don't know why they're not recommending masks. Just put anything over your face and your eyes.
Dude, both of us were like, why wouldn't they tell you that?
So I was asking this anti-masker that I was working with, I was like, what's the, I don't think that this was in anyone's head 20 years ago when they taught me this. It's not some giant conspiracy when they taught me this 20 years ago about other fucking problems. So what's your deal with this one? And they're like, oh, well, it's just another measure of control. What's the next thing you're going to have? Mandatory butt plugs? And I'm like, but they're not mandated butt plugs. And
they're not mandatory?
I've been doing this wrong.
You know what I mean?
You mean I didn't have to go to work like this every day?
It's like you've been doing it right, Matt.
I feel very comfortable.
You look very comfortable. Nothing could be more comfortable on a stone step than a butt plug.
My take on this whole thing is that, like, people's belief that the FDA and everything is bullshit is right, but you got to understand how, like, criminals work, that they're not going to do stuff when they're being scrutinized so heavily. Like, everything that they're coming out with now is going to be probably 100%, 99% true, because they have the whole world looking at them. When the whole world isn't looking at them, that's when they're going to do all that bullshit. And that's when they're going to get away with everything, because nobody's paying attention.
You're so fucking right, too, man, because that's how they get away with everything in the first place. And that's why there are movements that happen and protests that happen, because people are trying to tell other people, hey, this bullshit is happening over here. We need you to pay attention to it. And nobody fucking does. And
exactly.
I think you're right. And I think this is under so much scrutiny that, like, this is kind of at the point where if they dropped these vaccines and they did fuck everybody over, I'm pretty sure humanity would kill all of them. Like, people are getting
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, people are getting fed up. And some people are fed up with the wrong shit, but, like...
Do you think that because, like, all they're talking about is COVID, that there's a lot of other things happening, nothing to do with this virus?
Fuck yeah. No, Murphy shut down, when Murphy shut down being able to view where the money's being spent the second that this shit hit. Now, guaranteed, when either when he gets out of office or when things, whatever the case, it's going to fucking come out where the corruption and where the money, because no one's going to waste a crisis. And there's a bunch of bullshit going on. I don't fucking doubt that for a fucking second. But that has nothing to do, you know what I mean? Like, that has to do with mortgaging our children's futures. And if we were to protest in the streets tomorrow, and even if it got fucking, I'm down. to fucking, we should be able to see where this money's going. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm totally on board with that. There's obviously that shit going down, 100%.
I want to read some comments that were left by So it looks as though the comments that come from the Facebook page are now flowing to my page much better now. I don't know if that's an update on Facebook's side, but it's pretty good. So earlier, Mike Pepe said it's up to the artist, but people are generally assholes. We talked about that, of course. Sometimes the comments are better than the videos. That's fucking true, man. Especially when you go into these like Facebook groups where like people are obsessed with one TV show. They're the fucking worst. There's nothing I hate worse, in a way, than like large groups of people who are fans of the same thing I am. It's so embarrassing.
The adults, the worst.
It's the worst, man. Like, I don't even want to mention the groups because I don't want them to come after me. But like,
I'll mention them.
If it's a TV show, man, it's just so cringy all the fucking time too, man. So, yeah. Let's see. What's your source is now answered with the fuck you. I was telling Rob Marchi a few weeks ago how facts are becoming liberal bullshit. Like, if you say something and it's true, it's just liberal. It's just lib shit. Like,
in the comments, he's mentioning something about the Space Force. I just read something that some guy got demoted because he went out to go get a PS5. Tried to get one at least, and he was supposed to be like at a meeting or something, and he was all set to be able to go into space.
What?
And like now he's not because he wanted a PS5.
By the way, we're talking about PS5 here. So
Mike said we have a Space Force now, and today they were named Guardians, and it's like, dude, Guardians of what? If there was a fucking a threat that came from outside of our planet, whether it be an asteroid or fucking whatever, the Space Force isn't gonna do shit. You know who they're gonna consult? The motherfucking astrophysicists, as usual. So like, the Space Force shit is ridiculous. It's just so Trump can be like, and I started the Space Force. Like, dude, you should have started like a pinball league, and it would have been more popular.
Couldn't they not use Space Force because the TV show copyrighted the name?
I think they changed. Yeah, like I think maybe that's what Mike is talking about. Like, did they change their name, Mike? Like officially to Guardians or what? Space Guardian? What the fuck even? Did it? Terrible. Like, could you imagine, dude, that like Trump has like some sort of like parade on his way out the door, and he's like, we're gonna have a military parade with all the fucking arms of the military, and you have like Marines, and you have like Army and Navy, and then you have Space Force, and like all the other ones are like, bro, really? Like,
and they have like one of those cages like the carnival, but like with an alien inside of it.
Yeah, exactly. So Sigourney Weaver is there in her underwear.
Well, they were just testing a boat. I forget what kind of boat it was, but it was one of our Navy boats armed with a missile defense system to take out ICBMs from space. And it was a successful test recently, I think like a month ago.
We didn't ask for none of that, though. Like, we could have had health care for everyone.
This one can be anywhere it needs to be. It can be on the guarding other countries if it has to.
That sounded like a T-Mobile ad.
Mike said no. They're still called the Space Force, but instead of being called soldier or airmen, they're called Guardians.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Man, how heroic of them to do nothing.
Dude, who doesn't want to be a guardian? Like, I don't want to be a cop. Like, make me a guardian. That sounds so much better, doesn't it?
It would sound better if we weren't paying so much money for it and had
shit.
no health care for everybody.
No shit, dude.
I know. Like ancient times.
I like what you said. I like what you said too about, hey, we didn't ask for any of this shit. And that's right, man. We didn't ask for any of this shit. Apparently, 74 million of us asked for a wall. They're not getting that either.
Can't you only fly to space on like a clear day? Like, so what are they even like? If we got clouds, they're not guarding anymore.
What? What do you mean?
Guys, it's a little cloudy out. We have a day off.
You can't have spaceships going into outer space when there's like a storm above you, like a lightning storm, right?
Or like,
they don't
or like a
fly.
cumulus.
Dude, they got planes now that can go up there. That can just hover out in the outer atmosphere.
That sounds expensive.
They don't even have to like really go out.
I think we need like a Lando Calrissian base up there, man.
Dude, even Virgin Airlines has that shit.
Well, they have a prototype that has flown twice?
Yeah, and it worked. So, and the military has that shit for a long time now. I'm sure. I mean, if they even talk about it, they've had it for like 50 years. Apparently.
Oh yeah, man. The technology. See what we're talking about here? We're talking about a never-ending history of mistrust from anything with the word government anywhere near it.
With good reason too.
Well, yeah, there's certainly.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Now imagine this. Imagine that you've lived a life, right, where your social media feed is just filled up with that liberals and progressives are actually communists who are coming to kill you, and you see that all day long. But you feel the way we talk about. I mean, like we're telling people you should take the vaccine. Probably you should do this. You should do that. I think these things are okay. And we've sort of rationally discussed it, right? But we have an inherent mistrust of the government. We all do for our own reasons. Now imagine you're on the other side of this argument and your social media feed is filled with that shit all day about how liberals are violent and they're coming to kill you and all this other shit. And you also carry the same mistrust of the government. You look at that.
They do. They absolutely do. Yeah.
You look at that and you go, no wonder, because if you've ever seen a conservative feed, right, like a conservative social media feed, if you ever watched it, you'd go, oh, that's why they think Black Lives Matter is a terrorist group. That's why they think this. And I'm not saying, because I think it's rational. I'm saying, because, look at how well this was marketed to this demographic to think about this way. It's almost fucking impressive.
The people that voted for Trump in the first round, that voted for him for the purpose to implode the government, I respect that position. If that was the only thing that they voted on was to destroy this fucking piece of shit that we live in, then I didn't necessarily I respected that initiative, but that's where it ended. That's where all my respect is. Why do I want this government to end?
Well, no, the only reason why I ask why is just in any system of government that we've had in the U.S., speaking of distrust of the government, the people who have always been at the bottom have been the poor and minorities. Right. If the system is imploded on it, the people who are going to bear the brunt, as we're seeing now, are mostly minorities. Black people, Hispanic, Latin people.
So the reason I say that is because it seems to me like the trajectory we're on, it's going to only the division between the two is only so.
Stones, I think what she's asking more from you is a definition of what you mean implode, because what she's saying is that we're going to see more of the same if that kind of thing happens, and I don't think you want to see more of the same.
I think it could be worse.
It could be worse.
A lot worse.
It would be worse, but I have faith that the worst part would be a shorter. It's like ripping the Band-Aid off. You know what I mean?
What do you mean, like to destroy and rebuild type?
Yeah.
Can I ask you something, Kristen? How do you mean that would? Like if what he's talking about is a complete crumbling of the system, how do you mean that would have an effect on, for example, people of color in a worse way? I just want to.
I mean, I feel like it's obvious.
Yeah.
I want to hear why.
I agree. I think it's obvious because historically, people of color have always been at the bottom, and in a systemic way, a way that's been designed for us to stay at the bottom. We have the worst access to education. Our healthcare system sucks. And I mean, like thinking of like how the government has fucked us over, like the first thing that came to my mind was Puerto Rico. And I mean, I remember when I was like young, my parents were telling me about like the island of Vieques, which a lot of people don't know about, but was a US missile testing place. And it's like within 100 miles of where there's residents, and in that they were just dropping nuclear bombs left and right. And then 10, 15, 20 years later, all these people who lived in Puerto Rico ended up being infertile, having cancer, or were born with severe birth defects. That's never talked about. That's never really addressed in U.S. history. Like I learned that because of my parents, but because they're Puerto Rican, they're seen as second-class citizens by the U.S. government. They're just fucked over, and that's just seen time and time and time again when it comes to people of color. Like even now, like a real-world example is COVID and how it's impacting people of color. They're the ones who are dying at the majority rate disproportionately because most people of color in this country work jobs where they're lower wages and they don't have the ability to work from home or take a day off if they're feeling sick. They don't have access to going to see a doctor. They don't have a primary care physician. So if the whole system imploded.
Well, look, I'm not publicly advocating
No, I'm
burning
not saying that you
things
are.
down.
No, you said it.
Yeah, that's what you wanted, Stones.
You're the leader now, Stones. It's too late.
No.
Keep that
But
energy.
if things are to burn down, we should be burning down
The right
mansions
things
and yachts,
Right.
and you know what I mean, like the.
So
the
Stones, when you talk
empirical
about an implosion of the
shit.
system, you're not talking
Not-
about something that's going to continue to shit on people who've been shit on. You're talking about let's get the powerful out of power and
Right.
give power to the
Yes.
people who don't have it.
Yes.
And do you think that the people who voted for Donald Trump originally believed he was going to do that? Originally,
I think a
because
lot-
let me
I
just say
think
that
at
the
least-
mental
I
illness
think at
4 years
least
ago
half
was
of the
way
people-
different.
Right. I think at least half of the people that I if I was to guess, I would say about half of the people that voted for him for 4 years, 4 years ago, initially had the idea of this is fucked. We need to cripple this shit. This is too, it's too far gone.
You know what's weird,
And-
man?
and
Is
you've
I
seen
said
that
on the
in
show at
the-
that time 4 years ago, we had a conversation on the show where we had said that I said that I sort of understood because at the time there was a weird thing going on where like Bernie Sanders supporters and Donald Trump supporters had something in common. And I mean, not now, 4 years ago, when people
Right.
didn't know what Donald Trump was capable of. I mean, some of us knew it was obvious, but like other people were like, hey, maybe he's going to, like you said, implode the system, change the system. But I think that both people who voted for those people, they both desired the same thing, sort of a dismantling of the corruption. I just feel like one side was just so much utterly more misguided. Like, just so much.
Yeah, I don't think Republicans took it far enough. They got comfortable with their team winning, and they don't see it as corruption as long as it's their side doing it, type of thing. And that's where they lost. Like they could have went full force with it. They could have done a lot of cool stuff, but they were like, oh, we won. Yay, we get to rub it in libs' faces and call everybody fucking snowflakes and dumb shit like that.
I don't know if I agree with that necessarily. I have to say, I think what we're watching unfold now in American politics is more the Republican Party getting its base, which is getting people who are terrified of social change, i.e., the majority of people who vote for the Republican Party are anti-gay rights, are anti-trans rights, don't even believe trans people exist, are anti-Black Lives Matter because that's a scary thought that, a Black life matters, are anti-immigration. And I think the Republican Party, they found their person where they're like, okay, Donald Trump is wildly popular. He still won the most votes like of any sitting incumbent president ever. Well, thank God he lost. And I want to make that very clear that he did lose, but he still won a lot of votes. And I think the Republican Party picked up on that. And rather than sticking to their old, like, let's be sort of centrist and let's sort of just welcome in like the immigrants and maybe we can have a little bit of change here and there. They're like, no, here's a dude who can be our mouthpiece for getting the vast majority of Americans who are afraid of all the social change that's going on.
Right,
we had
but
a black president.
Well, he's
they got comfortable right there.
That doesn't cooperate.
That's what they wanted, and that's what they're doing. But they didn't take it the step further to get rid of corruption, to drain the swamp.
Right. They thought they peaked at winning.
They said they wanted to do. Like, that's what I mean. Like, they just took what they wanted to do and were like, hey, we get to do it. But they didn't they don't see that as corruption either. advocates
You know what else
themselves.
is weird about him too? Is that it also brought us to a point where, like, if you take a population of people who are kind of racist, you can push them into being totally racist. And and a whole bunch of other bad things too. And like he spoke, like, you know, like I said, those of us paying attention could see that he was speaking to that in 2015 and 16. But like, when you see it like becoming fully realized in a way in 2020, where like I saw this nurse on TikTok who did a video because people were dying on ventilators from COVID-19, and their literal last words were, "This can't be happening because it's not real."
Yeah, I remember that.
And like, you know where they're getting that from, and I feel like we've reached this. We've gone from a point of like where people are like, "Oh, you know, I'm not racist, but," and now they've like inflated that to like this completely like realized degree. Fuck Black Lives Matter, like. And he's done that with so many things. So like I bring that up as just like an example. But like he's taken everything and just turned the knob a little bit. And I can't believe, I'm shocked that 74, even though I knew it was possible that 74 million Americans would vote for him.
So one of the super inflammatory things that I've found is like, you know, like when you start mentioning like the ICUs are full, the backlash that you get from that is people saying, yeah, but how do you know that? You can't get anywhere near the ICUs. And then the response that I always have to that is, well, I drove an ambulance for a decade. I'm very close with 3 ICU nurses in 3 different hospital systems and another nurse that works on just a COVID floor in a 4th hospital system. And I ask them how their days are going. And like, you know, so the bizarreness of that is that people aren't believing, like, you know, personal interactions at that point, or they don't have personal interactions. So maybe that's their shortcoming. As far as like what you were just referencing, like, you know, like the fact that oh fuck, I lost my point. God damn it.
Nice.
Yeah. Like,
nice.
I had a whole thing framed out, and then I just got so mad at the people that are just ignoring the ICUs being.
Stones, you need to check your notes.
Check your notes.
So mad.
Yeah, but you said like 73 million people voted for him, but like that's not even a quarter of the country.
I know.
That's still a lot of people.
But I'll tell you what, it's a quarter of the country that has a lot of power to motivate a lot of fucking bad shit for a lot of people. And that bothers me. Because come on, man, like the reason why shit is moving in the direction it is because of all this action that's being taken by what's not even half the country technically. But it's making a lot of problems for a lot of people. How do you wake up the fucking other side is the other side, the side that doesn't engage, are they more evolved or less evolved? Because they don't get involved or because they're
that's a case by case. That's a case by case, my friend.
I think it's probably half and half there, 60-40, something like that.
So my question is getting that other 60% involved, because I know the 60 is a percent that doesn't do anything. Getting that other 60% involved, how does that change things?
Well, voter participation is a sign of a robust democracy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if we have a very robust democracy. I think the majority of people just either, one, don't care, or I always say I never shame anyone who chooses not to vote if they feel like the options they have available to them are not options that they agree with or want to take. Because that in and of itself, I believe, me personally, I don't know, people might disagree with me, but I believe that that's in and of itself a political opinion, and you're making a political action. If you're saying, I don't agree with any of the options that I have, this whole system is bullshit, I read up on everything I can on each candidate, they both suck, I don't like this, so fuck it. I think that
was my stance all the way up until the election. That's exactly it.
And if anybody yelled at you for saying, like, I'm not going to vote because I don't agree with that, like, tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, that's
seriously. Tell them to fuck off. Because the reality is a lot of people are disengaged with American politics because American politics has failed so many people time and time again. Like, we still have to suffer through an incredible amount of debt to just get an education, to even access, maybe moving up the socioeconomic ladder 1 or 2 rungs, possibly. And in every sense, like it's just been the same bullshit over and over and over again.
Oh my God, it's on a loop.
Well, what I think a lot of the times happens is people have the group mentality where they want to pick the winning side because they don't want to think. Yeah. So that's why I think we're always stuck with just 2 parties, 2 choices. We only get 2 choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it starts, there's all these other people, but it's like the first couple months, they're just gone. Here's your 2.
I feel like what you're saying is true, except that you said people want to pick the winning party, and it's so much worse than that in a way. It's not that they want to pick the person. They just pick a party, and like I feel like there's people that voted for Trump not because they even like him, but because they're voting for Republicans, and it's definitely the same with Biden, because nobody voted like dude, like I said before, like people that voted for Trump because they were excited to vote for Trump. People that voted for Biden because they were excited to vote against Trump. And that's fucking dangerous, because you have a president in office soon that most people don't really fucking support or believe in. And that's a fucking problem.
Yep.
That's why I made that distinction when I said if you had Bernie Sanders versus Trump, you would have had people voting for Bernie because they were excited for a Bernie presidency. Most people were not excited for a Biden presidency. And when you look at the people that he fucking picked for his cabinet, the majority of them anyway, it's very clear. Yeah. It's very clear the reason why you shouldn't be excited for Biden. But the difference between Trump is that he lays everything out on the table very clearly. He might be sneaky as fuck, but he's very bad at being sneaky as fuck. The guy is just, you understand exactly what the fuck he means when he says something, no matter how he words it. You can see the racism behind the way he thinks because he's so fucking bad at now I hear myself. Okay. He's so bad at hiding anything, and his supporters are so bad at covering up how racist they are and all the other fucking shit. The real danger is with someone like Biden and the neo-fucking liberals and the fucking that's the real danger, because the Democrats will promise to minorities and disabled people and sick people all day and night, we have your back. We just need your support. We're going to do all this for you. They do not do those things. If anything, they put policies in place that fucking hurt minorities even more. But it's glazed over so much better than Trump ever did that it fools so many more people for so much longer that we're stuck with them being around for even longer. Like the Republican Party, we can all agree, is essentially imploding from the inside. But we don't see the same thing with the Democrats as much as we should. You see progressives now infighting with old guard Democrats, and like that's great and all, but it's not happening as fast as it should, because the truth is, if the Democratic Party is seriously going to survive into the next generation, the only way that's going to happen is if the progressives take over the party, and they're doing everything they fucking can to make sure that doesn't happen. So the Democratic Party is going to die too. It just with time fucking has to.
No, the Democratic.
Because people a generation younger than our generation has even less health care than we do for even longer period of time than we've not had it. So, like what the fuck? And they're not going to be fucking fooled by this shit, because they've looked at older generations and went, you believed that? Like, we know that's not true because we're seeing even less of the runoff than what the fuck runoff you fucking had. Like, so I feel like it's so delusional for those Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and all of those to be fighting with progressives when they haven't realized yet those are your fucking lifelines. Like, if you open up, your job is still secure. All you have to do is understand that. But like, they don't get it. They think they have even more power than they actually do, because they're going to be fucking taken out, and they're either going to be taken out by the People's Party and watch all the progressives run to it and leave the Democrats behind, or they're just going to be taken out of their own fucking party and it's going to turn into the party they've pretended it was this whole fucking time, even though it wasn't. The Democrats are just Republican light, and that's it. And progressives are just what the Democrats pretend they are, but only when they want to win an election.
I was just going to say exactly the same thing, that sooner or later the Democrats are going to be taken over by the people who the Democrats have claimed that they've been the whole time but haven't been. That was what I was going to say. Go ahead, Pat. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that I think a way to solve a lot of this, like what you were saying about how you get people to vote and stuff like that, it's like, or people being upset about other people not voting or things like that.
You give them all PS5s.
It all comes down to, like, I mean, I think a lot of people don't want to vote because they don't think their vote matters, because eventually it comes down to the Electoral College, right? And the Electoral College is never going to vote for a third party. So what has to happen is get rid of them, and then by popular vote, have a third party that can actually compete with the other two. And that's the only way that you're ever going to disrupt the current two-party system.
Mike said my girlfriend has never voted and it bothers me.
Well, I tell you, man, once upon a time I would have said...
I don't think it should bother him because,
go ahead,
there's a lot of reasons that I think there's a lot of reasons that voting really doesn't matter in the long run.
So I have two... Hold on.
Wait. So, Mike, what, if you don't mind me asking, what are her... Because I've heard a lot of friends that I know that don't vote or didn't in the past, and they all have very different reasons why. Some of them are like, oh, politics, I don't fucking care about politics, I don't know one politician from the next. And then some people are completely involved in what's going on and totally disengaged with anything in regards to voting. So I'm just curious what her reason is, that, you know, and if that's part of why it bothers you, or if it's just more of a blanket, like, you should be fucking voting no matter what situation.
I was going to say that the problem is too that we don't get the choice that we need in order to fix the system, and there's no way we're going to get it unless you get certain, like, so like, again, not perfect, but you get a guy like Bernie Sanders who says, yeah, tax me more, and a real progressive will say that. A real progressive will say, if something I'm doing is not fair, I need to correct it. And I think that's how I believe it to be. Like, that's how I want to see it. And I think that in order to get a third party, or here's another way of thinking about it. What if there was a none of the above on the ballot? Right? What if people could vote for nobody? What if you could check a box that says, I don't like either candidate? Now let's say we do that, and let's say that vote is higher than the votes for any other candidate. What do they do then?
Can we do a redo? Wouldn't that be fucking dope?
That would be amazing.
But that's why they won't do that.
There's too many laws in place, and there's like constitution in place to protect all that. There's deadlines and stuff like that. A lot of things would have to change for that to happen.
So Pat, am I
Bernie Sanders wasn't even going to run as a Democrat. He was going to run as an independent, but he knew that there was no possible chance for him to win as an independent.
The way I feel about it is, like, you know, I don't know why I'm always like pictured as being like this, like, undying Bernie Sanders supporter. And, like, you know, like, years ago, when Rick and I first started dating, I was like, I'm a socialist. Like, before all this socialist bullshit started happening after Bernie Sanders got popular. Like, I have always said that, always, for my fucking entire adult life. And Rick is like, oh, that's interesting, whatever. And he's like, hey, did you hear about this guy, Bernie Sanders, who's running, talks about socialism and stuff? And I was like, I doubt it. And I started listening to the stuff he was saying, and I'm like, well, he's for sure on the fucking right track with a lot of the things that have been ignored in this country that needs to be fucking talked about. So, you know, I became a Bernie Sanders supporter, but a lot of socialists were flat out against it, because they were like, no real socialist would run as a Democrat. No real socialist would become a part of a party that is the fucking problem. Mm-hmm. And I agree. But I understood his strategy too. And I went with it up until the point where votes were taken away from him openly, and he did not stand up for his voters that he says he cares for, because he was willing to basically give it to Hillary, even though that's not how it went. Even the fucking electors came out and said, yeah, he won this county and we gave it to Hillary. He won this county. He won that fucking county. All these counties that he fucking won. And he did not put up a fight. And it was like, Bernie, you're not supposed to be fighting for yourself here. Like, you're fighting for the people who voted for you. Like, you're supposed to be their voice now and say, hey, you should be fighting the way Trump is fighting for an election he didn't fucking win and wasn't actually stolen from him. And like, that's when I started getting a little more like, what the fuck? And then after this election, where it was like, let's fight to elect Biden, even though he had more fucking followers and more people that were so much more passionate for him, it just was like Bernie kind of became a tool of electing more Democrats. And on the side, his hobby is to try and get progressives elected, but it's not like the number one thing. And the Democrats did a really good job for 4 years now, making it known that it doesn't matter who the Democrat is that we have. It only matters that Trump isn't there. And that is so fucking dangerous, because look what we have now. The guy who's against Medicare for all, the guy who doesn't want to get rid of your student loans, the guy who's putting warmongers into the fucking cabinet left and fucking right. That's what happens when you say the lesser of two evils. Well, bitch, they're both fucking evil. How about we just don't pick someone who's fucking evil at all instead of the lesser of two? Like, that's still evil.
So is anybody else concerned about the 12th Amendment thing that Trump, I mean, the clear play that Trump's trying to do here? Like the whole electoral college, if one member of House and one member of the Senate disputes the legitimacy of the vote, then the vote goes to the House of Representatives, but it's only
okay. So hold on. Let's talk about gang politics for just a second here. Mitch McConnell and Chris Christie have publicly said that Donald Trump has lost and it's time to let it go. Mitch McConnell has a power that is ridiculous. And if Mitch McConnell says Donald Trump lost, the other Republicans are going to fucking fall in line, because I'll tell you what, those other Republicans,
all they need is one.
I know that.
All they need is one Republican in the Senate.
I think they are all more excited for Joe Biden than they are for a second Donald Trump presidency.
I don't know. I'm just saying possibly, but I mean, I see Trump's play. I see his strategy. It's a con. It's a total con. But like, you know, like people would say, like, in a way, like, oh, that's brilliant. That's his one, you know, it's his one path to victory. But I've worked for guys like that. It's still a fucking con. You know, it's still bullshit. But it is. I don't know. I'm somewhat concerned that it will get to that level. And my also concern is that if it does go to the House and he does get 26 votes in the House, or it gets postponed and it goes to the Senate, I think Mitch McConnell will jump on it to have the Republicans in another branch of government.
I don't think so. Mitch McConnell and Biden go way back. Early 90s, the two of them were a lot of people don't know that. Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden were friends. Joe Biden's friends with a lot of these Republican lawmakers. That's he is a Republican. Yeah, he's like a George Bush light, like maybe like a little more blue. But I think a lot of Republicans and neoliberal Democrats are eager for things to go back to the way it was, because Trump really was, this is going to sound a little crazy, but Trump really was a like monkey wrench. Like, I don't know the saying, but our political system, like the American political system with Trump, was, you know, all of the weaknesses were kind of laid out bare. Yeah. We've never had a president or presidential candidates, and I love Bernie Sanders, but his ideas in the context of American politics as a whole are extreme. If you think about it, I'm not saying that his ideas are extreme, but if we think about American democracy and how things have run, his ideas are extreme. Maybe if Jimmy Carter had another term, then I don't know, maybe not so much, but we have two political parties who are becoming more and more separated, and they're not getting people who are like sort of moderate and in the middle. And I think both Republicans and Democrats want those people in the middle because that makes good government. That makes good government for them, not for the rest of us.
Right, exactly.
It makes good government for them.
We have a friend that was very much a Biden supporter. And this conversation we had with her was like 2 years ago, maybe, where we were just talking about the possibility of Biden or whatever. And she was so for it. And we were like shocked by that. And she's like, the thing we need right now is an old white man that is just the same old, because that's what America needs to feel comfortable and feel like things are back to normal. And it made me angry because I'm like, you of all people who's like fighting for the rights of renters and fighting for the rights of poor people, like how could you want the same old thing? That's what scares me the most, is that we're going to go back to comfortably killing poor people.
Can I say something though? I think a lot of that is predicated on a huge misunderstanding of what the candidate intends to do. And I think that the way we watch conservatives get fed a waterfall of nonsense in their social media feeds, I think that if you are certainly like a claimed Democrat, you get a similar kind of thing fed to you all day long. And you get told that certain things are really great. And it's funny because if Biden makes any move, I'll read on Facebook, people like applaud it and the news applauds it. And then I'll look over at you and you'll be like, this motherfucker. And it's like, oh, because if you take 15 extra seconds to look beneath the surface, this is really twisted and kind of bad and terrible. But they shine it up and they make it look a certain way. And I think a lot of people think that they're cheering for something that they're not.
Right. And well,
I think about it all the time. It's like that Martin Luther King speech where he talks about the most dangerous fucking people are white moderates who are just comfortable with the status quo. I have never believed that more than I believe it after this year. They are the most fucking dangerous pieces of shit in this entire country, and they're the problem. Period.
Agreed.
The moderates, the centrists, the people in the fucking middle that don't have enough passion to fight for the people that need fighting for are the fucking problem.
Then would you believe that? Could you believe that a large portion of the Trump supporters aren't doing what they're doing out of a racist background? That they're doing it because of exactly what you're saying. That they're just pushing. They want these weaknesses to be crushed. They want these weaknesses to be exposed.
No, and I'll tell you why. Because if someone, let's say that like someone I knew said that they were going to help me acquire something that I really wanted, but in order to do it, they were going to fuck up a bunch of black families, but fuck them anyway. They come from shithole countries. I could A, say, well, I get that thing I want, or I could B, say, there's probably a better way to do this where people aren't hurt. So one of them makes me pretty much a racist by proxy, and the other one makes me a moral individual. So Trump.
Yeah, but you're saying that it's
racist.
If you're voting for the evil moderate white man, or you're voting for the racist guy who's a destructive force, I can't personally separate the moral line there. I don't know where that I'm not a you know what I'm trying to say here?
No, I understand what you're trying to say.
I don't think it's going to stop them from trying to claim it though. They're definitely going to try to say, "Oh yeah, we did that on purpose to show the loopholes and expose everything in the system." As like an afterthought, they're going to think about it. But I don't think that's what they're doing on purpose.
I see what you mean.
Hearing the evangelicals say that, Trump is basically he hijacked their religion. They allowed it to happen simply because he has alluded to being anti-abortion.
They encouraged it.
So basically, they allowed this guy who, under normal circumstances, if they didn't think they were getting anything in return, would be the first people to be like, this guy is fucked up. but because they're promised something, they will allow all this shit they never would normally be okay with. And I just have a problem with people that think that things that would normally be terrible are okay as long as they get something in return. To me, that is so utterly disgusting and immoral and wrong. And if you think you're not racist simply because you would never scream racial slurs in the middle of the street, but you would be okay.
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about the people that are succumbing to that vote for Trump because of those reasons. I'm talking about the people who are succumbing to the vote for Trump because they see that he's a destructive force. They see that he's causing this division that may actually cause.
So here's the problem. So what you're saying is we're talking about people voting for Donald Trump because they want him to just destroy the system.
Right. Versus
so here's the deal.
Most for the people that are evil moderates.
Yeah. I think right? that there are, and okay, if you are, it takes a certain amount of ignorance to want to destroy the system in one way and a certain amount of intelligence to want to destroy the system in a different way, a better way. And what I see is when I look at like the rallies, right? I don't see a bunch of people who are concerned about destroying the system for the right reasons. I've watched that. I've watched people.
The people that actually sign up to go to the rallies are fucking out of their mind. Like these people are like, oh, Democrats are sheep, liberals are sheep, and it's like, but you're screaming "We love you" to some jackass. Like, who's the fucking sheep? You know what I mean? Like, but you're talking about the rally
thing, right? Saw the new fad, like they're like yelling at the cops, "We back the blue," and they're like acting like they can do whatever they want because they back the blue.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
And then they're yelling at them.
And then they're yelling at the cops. Yeah.
Can I publicly say,
like, make up your mind, guys? Like, you don't even know what's going on right now.
Fuck those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fuck those people.
And then the riots in the street, on both sides of the coin. These people that are yelling at the cops, but and then also you have the people that are breaking windows and shit like that. I think overall that those people like that we disagree with, that we would normally disagree with, because people breaking windows, I think everybody here pretty much agrees that you're not trying to attack the small business owner that's trying to put food on the table and get braces for his daughter. You know what I mean? Like that's fucked up, Like, I think we all get that. I think we all understand that. I think we all understand the whole concept of fuck the big corporations, burn them the fuck down. Absolutely. But it rolls over into, and the amount of people doing that and the amount of people doing this bullshit at these rallies, I think that it's a pretty even split as far as those sections of the population. I think that's a small percentage of the population. I think that the bigger bulk of the population may see that the fact that if you're voting for a Democrat, you're voting for the old evil guard, or you're voting for a destructive force. And if you try and, people are typically one thought votes, right? Like there's like one black and white issue that they vote on. So if you take the moderates, which moderates decide elections, and you take that moderate section of the population, and they're left with the choice that either we're going to vote for these evil cocksuckers to fucking come in, which we know that the Democratic Party is, or we vote for some dude that may take it down in the most brutal, evil, disgusting fucking way possible, but at least it's not voting for these evil motherfuckers. I don't know where you go.
So
with
here's
that.
the deal, man. Listen,
you're talking about Bernie supporters who voted for Trump in 2016. That's basically what you're describing.
In a way, man, you are, dude. Damn.
Right.
That's what, because I was going to say, I don't know a single
absolutely.
anarchist that would buy into any of this, and that's what I feel like you're talking about. And I don't even think an anarchist would vote for Donald Trump. I've never seen an anarchist that I follow on Twitter or anything like that ever be like, yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump. Like, they're like, fuck both of them equally up the ass.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, Kristen, you nailed it when you said
that's what he's talking about.
That's what he's talking about. But I also think that ideology that you're talking about existed 4 years ago and doesn't exist in the same way now or at the same numbers now. I think
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think the moral choice in that situation would be not to participate in the system. If you truly believe that one side is just as bad and just as racist and just as evil as the other, then don't fucking participate in the system.
Or vote for a different party.
Or vote for a different party altogether.
Yeah.
Don't buy into voting for one I
did.
That's exactly what I did. I voted third party. Fuck both of these.
I voted third
motherfuckers.
party. I voted third party before 4 years ago, but I had to also consider to myself every single time, you know, her or anybody I knew read to me what Trump had planned for the next 4 years. It impacted somebody that I knew terribly, whereas Biden's plan impacted everybody I knew badly. So I have to go with either bad or terrible. And I'm voting to protect those people. But I also have to say that's the last fucking time I do that. Like,
same.
Progressives need to get their head out of their ass. And we need to start, like Democrats, like most people I know claim that they're Democrats are not. They're progressives. They agree with trans rights and gay rights and Black Lives Matter and they want to change the system and they're tired of the fucking rich getting away with shit and they're all the same, but they vote for people who don't actually do it. So what they actually believe in are what progressives believe in. But it's time to take your head out of your ass over the course of the next 4 years and for the fucking love of God, not have to vote in Joe Biden again. There are better candidates and better people who could run this country fairly for fucking everybody in a way where you can even keep a goddamn racist happy.
We're not picking a president that's best for us. We're picking a president that's best for these fucking politicians who are getting money out the ass from lobbyists. That's all we're doing.
But if we're also talking about waking up the other 60% of this country that doesn't vote and getting them to vote, you have to motivate them to vote.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If a fucking airborne deadly virus that's killing people that don't know if they have fucking health care to cover it isn't enough to wake people up, then I'm under the belief that nothing will. I have, like, listen, I have a lot of friends that are like, I have hope that things are going to change. I have hope that and like, I'm happy that they do. And I don't know if you guys do, but I'm happy if you do. I don't. Like, I don't know how to say this any stronger. I have zero faith in our country being able to unite in a way that is going in any way where children can grow it in a way that is nurturing to the world around them. We live in a country where the better you are, the more prizes you get, the better you are of a human, the more you can produce, the more worthy you are of being alive. Like, I don't believe that a country that is built on that foundation has any fucking hope whatsoever. Maybe like the next 5 generations could procure that, but I have zero hope. I want to leave this country as soon as I fucking can because I hate it so much here that I actually sometimes lie in bed Stones and I were talking about having currently going through an existential crisis and how his is slightly different than mine. Mine is that as a disabled female, and during this pandemic especially, it has been very hard for me to come to terms with just how little my life matters at all. And before that, I understood it in the sense that, my insulin isn't fucking covered. I'm using expired insulin right now. And when that runs out, I'm not sure how to get it other than to try and get it from Canada. By the way, the border is fucking closed and nobody knows when they're going to open. So all the diabetics that were trying to get it from there in Mexico fucking right now can't. So, my crisis is there's no science in this country. People are literally against science because they think their faith is somehow more real than actual science. I don't know how to live in a world where there's little critical thinking because feelings are more important than facts. It is so hard for me. Like, this is almost suicidal sounding because of how deeply I feel it and mean it. I feel so out of place in this country, and being disabled makes it so much more highlighted because there's no empathy, there's no care for someone who has less than you or struggles more than you. I have no hope that will change, especially with Biden in charge of shit, because now it means all the shady shit they do, they're able to speak well about it and make it sound nicer and fluffier than Trump has the ability to do when he speaks, which means more shady shit gets done, but less people realize it at the time. Like Clinton's great welfare reform plan that fucked everyone. So no, I don't want to live here. I don't have any hope. I hope you guys do, because that's what we need. But I just don't. I don't think
that. I think eventually the path that we're on, something's got to give, and I think it's not going to be in a positive way. I think it's just the rate where we're headed, the disparity between people who have the means to even just live and the people who have like nothing is growing so wide, and there's like the gap between the rich and the poor. There's no more middle class in this country. There's no social economic mobility, and at some point in time, that's just bad news. And history has told us many times that when that happens, there's a violent change. There's something that happens, and people get upset. And honestly, I think within my lifetime and within our lifetime, that's likely to happen. It just, to me, the way that we're going on, it's not sustainable, especially with climate change. Like that, resources are going to get scarce within our lifetime, I think. And I think some places they already are. So I think we're just fucked. I hope it is good. I have hope that maybe the next generation will, I don't know.
Listen, man, I have a lot of belief in Gen Z.
Me
I really
too.
do. I think Generation Z, listen, as the boomer generation dies off, I don't mean to talk about it like it's like a new model iPhone coming out, but like when the later generation dies off and the new ones take over, I have to say from experience, the majority of them, or even the ones who think they're not, are the most accepting group of people I've ever seen. And I think the way they prioritize the way we live is going to change things for the better if we can manage to make it that far. Because I think everybody from boomers to even young millennials, we're all kind of fucking the planet up, and we just don't know what else to do. Like, we're addicted to what we have and what we need and what we want and all this other shit, and like, that's where we are. I wanted to, Stones, were you trying to talk? Because I wanted to hit the comments for a second.
It's funny that you mentioned iPhone, because did you see in India that all the workers at the new iPhone factory destroyed the shit at like just $7 million in damage because they weren't getting paid right?
Nice.
They just fucking, yeah.
And by the way, Stones, man, you were talking about rioters on both sides. There's not rioters on both sides. There are rioters on both sides. But what I'm saying is, when you riot because you're protecting or defending the indefensible, like, you don't get to do that and have the same amount of clout as the people who are rioting because, like, dude, there's no other way to get people to fucking pay attention. So, like, I'll give you an example. Hold on. I'll give you an example. Do you think that no one in this country would, and I'm bringing this up because Rose had said that one side has Nazis and the others doesn't, and riots get shit done, and I approve of it, and I'm trying to be a cop. And what I was going to say is that no one on the planet would know what Ferguson was if they didn't light a fucking flare. And to me, I see it that way. And I also want to make clear that I agree with you about something. Yes. I just want to be clear about why. I don't think you should burn down mom and pop shops. I could give a fuck about your local Walmart because your local Walmart fucked your local economy. So, like, to me, that even logically makes a certain amount of sense, right? But at the same time, I also say that in the throes of change, and you mentioned this earlier yourself, there's things that happen that are unfortunate, but they're just part of that fucking growth. So to me, it's like if the trigger had been pulled in the first place, it wouldn't be happening at all. And I feel like the trigger being pulled is a bigger deal than somebody getting their windows smashed.
Agreed. Oh my God, 110.
I agree with that. I'm just saying that I
just wanted to give you an opportunity to clarify because somebody said something.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, my clarification is that you have people in the streets. If you were to take a good chunk of the Trump supporter mentality, I think that a lot of the actual logic behind their thinking is exactly Sarah's point to the fact that on the Democratic side, you're voting in a moderate person that is truly evil. So I think that in their minds, they're doing the right thing in that regard. And as far as Nazis and as far as communists, listen, no matter what direction our country heads in, it all leads to genocide. one's just a little faster than the other. every direction that we're heading in at this point.
Can we please start over again, those Stones? Do we have to just keep doing the ending over and over again? Can we have at least an opportunity as a species to evolve and just maybe hit the reset button for a minute? Please. Because I feel like part of me believes that you're right, that society kind of climbs the cliff and eventually falls off at some point and starts over again. Like society is Sisyphus pushing the fucking, the boulder up the hill, and it just never happened.
Dude, I agree, but
well, look who it is.
Yeah, Rob Marchie's finally in town.
Yeah.
Moseying on in right now.
Like so yeah, I agree that we're kind of gonna eventually kill ourselves, but really in my opinion the reason why is because historically speaking, and I'm sure Rob Marchie can talk about this way more than I could, which is historically speaking, once wage gaps get to insane levels, 100%, 500%, like the guy at the top is making 500 times more than the guy at the bottom. You're talking about two different species of people that need two totally separate things in their lives. And the person at the top has no fucking idea how to take care of the needs of the person at the bottom. And that's the last thing in the world they give a shit about, other than to make sure they're still getting up and slave laboring for them. And that's it. There's no ethical reason for a billionaire to exist at all, anywhere on this planet, period. And until that is taken care of, we're going to fucking end up just going off a cliff, and it's going to be the billionaires that push everybody. And then
Aren't you glad you joined, Rob? I'm sorry.
I mean, it sounds like a perfect time to come into a conversation. It's very Huey Longish. That's very burn the house down. Why do we have billionaire? I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you, Sarah. I mean, at least the last couple comments that you made there.
There is no such thing as an ethical billionaire. There is no billionaire who achieved his billions honestly. It's impossible. And part of the problem is most people do not fully understand or grasp how much money $1 billion is, or how many lifetimes it would take you to acquire that amount if you were just working your normal job. The only way to acquire that amount of money is to exploit other people. There is no fucking reason to have $1 billion. Like, we sit there and we have reality shows where we basically are shaming hoarders who hoard cats, but we don't shame people that hoard countries' wealth for themselves while other people fucking starve. Are you kidding me?
It's a valid point. I mean, I guess it's easier to point at garbage and say, oh, that garbage is bad, but oh, that money's in the bank. You know what I mean? It's just some number on a piece of paper. I mean, you're not wrong.
The issue is the money's not in the bank. The money's in offshore accounts, and it's
all
not
over the place.
Taxed.
Yeah.
It's not being taxed, and it's no longer in circulation. And that's the fucking reason why we have so many more poor people, because poor people spend about 90% of their money, and rich people spend less than 10% of it. They don't put the money back into the economy. The poor people fucking do. And that's the issue. They hoard the money. Like, people think money just gets created, but the truth is there's a lump of fucking money, and rich people get all of it, and then the poor people have to fight over it while they listen to poor people tell them how to budget better.
Yeah.
But that's just not sustainable. It's not always going to be that way. And it's probably likely that something will happen. Something bad is going to happen, because there's no way. And I mean, French Revolution comes to mind. I mean, I don't know. Like, let's just
kind of like
the rich.
Isn't this how it's like always been? Like,
Exactly.
think all the way back to when there was kings. You have a king that has everything. Everybody has nothing. Except now the king is just celebrity, or like not even like the president.
Yeah, they figured out how to take the
money.
motherfucker who's fucking you the worst and force you and actually make you happy to celebrate it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I agree with you, like pretty much 99%. But there's that other 1% that, like, certain things need a lot of money to do. Like, you're not going to go to space with a few $1 million.
But wouldn't that be
you're not going
money
to do
from
a lot
a
of things.
collective group instead of one person? Like to go to space, that's like a collective group's money, taxpayer money.
Well, like say Tesla Corporation, for example, they're like what 150 billion or something worth now, like something crazy, and like
Which, by the way, Elon Musk lied to everybody about his original battery pack, about how advanced technology it was, and nobody could get their hands on it. And it was just regular fucking 18630s, I think, were the batteries with a cooling system, and that was it. We were duped. We're always duped. Like whenever anybody gets to that level of wealth, we're duped. We're duped into believing that they have something special.
Yeah, I'm not saying I like the guy.
Yeah.
But
I'm saying he was just saying that the money came from one place.
When you're going to start doing global things, or especially space expansion and all this other stuff, you need a lot of money. And I don't know if one but I agree, 99% of the time they're just hoarding it, and the buck stops there, and that's it. You know, there's no economy growth with it.
I saw Bezos's wife was giving away $1 billion a month to charities.
I mean, that's great.
As she
long
should.
as the charity actually does something with it.
As she should. I mean, imagine if you got married without I don't know the whole situation, but I assume they got married before. I don't know. They probably didn't sign a prenup. So half of his money went to her, and he's still the richest fucking man in the fucking world. That's insane. That is insane.
Yeah, the amount of money he's made. Yeah.
Who got so much richer through the pandemic that it's shocking how much richer he got. He can take everybody out of poverty in this country and pay everyone's medical bills from now until the day they die, and he would still be 1,000,000 times richer than anyone else.
Who are you talking about?
Elon. No, Jeff Bezos.
Who's that? Is that the Amazon guy?
He's the Amazon guy.
Yeah, okay,
I have a theory though. I really do. I believe when you get. So I remember one of my old poli-sci professors was talking about this, and it's like, I think it was like political economy, and like the amount of money you need to make supposedly in a year to be happy is like something like $250,000. Like there's no difference between someone who makes that amount of money and someone who makes $1 million a year. Like you can afford sort of the same things. Like you're not really I don't know how true that is anymore, because that was probably, things have changed since then, but you're not struggling. You're good. Like you can afford a home, you can afford a nice car, you can have a family. I think that when you make that as much money as Jeff Bezos has, there is something psychologically wrong with you. You have no soul. You are like, the fact that you have that much money and you can give away $1 million every month for the rest of your life.
A month, you can give away $1 million every minute.
You know what?
And still be the richest person in the world.
Yeah.
There's something wrong. Like there's something psychologically wrong with you. Like there's something. I would even go as far as to say spiritually wrong with you. And I don't believe in that. You're just an evil person.
Rob Marchi and I were talking about this the other day, and we were talking about how Jeff Bezos has kill and eat children money.
Oh, definitely, 100%.
Like he's got money where he could like buy a country and a military.
Rick, what did I say? You're not wealthy unless you got that I could eat a baby money.
Right? Yeah. You're not wealthy unless you got eat a baby money.
And it's sad because it's not funny. I think that.
Which I agree with. Affluenza being part of the justice system, but at the same time, if you look at affluenza and you think to yourself, well, somebody was raised in that environment where nothing mattered, that has to be a mental disorder too. Like, that's a product of your music.
It's what the fuck we have with Trump. He's a grown man affluenza baby who got whatever the fuck he wanted handed to him and was never told he was bad at anything.
Right, but think about here's the ultimate irony in that. How not rich is he compared to the other people that we're talking about? You know what I mean? And just think about that. Think about that level. Like, I think, and I have to comment. I'm going to go back like a couple, like 6 or 7 minutes about what you said, and the fact that there's that conflict of interest when it comes to this country, right? Because like, you don't want people to be mega rich. But that's obviously the byproduct of capitalism, is that you create class competition and you create that mentality that, that's that it's great to make progress and it's great to be successful and it's great to accumulate wealth because you've been able to be successful and that brings you the happiness that you want, right? That's the gears behind the apparatus that is democratic capitalism in this country, versus the alternative where you have extreme socialism and everybody just spreads the wealth across the thing. So by and large, that's not going to be accepted by the population. But the byproduct of that capitalism is that store your wealth like a squirrel in your cheeks, and all of a sudden, bang, you are worth billions of dollars, and you're going to have apologists. The worst part of it, right? I think the worst byproduct of our capitalistic society is that the apologists for people that are up in that tier of wealth are people who, and I think Rick, that was part of the conversation we had before we got to that comment, was that there are so many people who have money, but they ain't got that kind of money. And they view themselves as those types of
they
people.
think they're those. Donald Trump thinks he's those people. He's not.
Well, I'm talking.
Donald Trump is closer to us than he is to them.
There's been countless like memes and cartoons that I've seen lately where it's like, the dude that makes $90,000 a year over here defending Donald Trump, but not because it's Donald Trump, but because he thinks he's one of his bros in the financial bracket that he's not in,
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, okay, so you have a boat, cool. You know what I mean? You bought a fucking boat. You invested yourself in a boat. That puts you on a different tax bracket.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about, where I said half the problem is most of the country really does not have a full, clear grasp of what $1 billion actually is. Most people think of $1 billion as it's just like a couple million. I don't think anyone truly understands the numbers or the time involved for a normal person to obtain it.
A breakdown in grains of rice,
I saw that video.
Yeah,
too.
like 100,
TikTok.
1,000, something like that, and it goes all the way up to like $1 billion, and it's insane.
Yeah,
it's not. It's really nuts because that spectrum, that spectrum goes from the average wealth where the poverty line is. In the last 30 years, there's more of a percentage of people beyond the poverty line on the left side of the spectrum than if you go to the right side. The money that would show the income inequality, where the graph would rise to the richest people in the country. The richest are literally off the fucking grid. Mm-hmm. They're on another own grid of their own, where it's wealth that you're like, oh, that guy's got some money. You're like, that guy doesn't have money. That guy has own a fucking country money. That's not, and that's money where you're like, okay, I think you've crossed the threshold of, it's not even affluenza, right? It's that you can just buy yourself the fuck out of it if you want.
Sooner or later, as a species, we have to start to agree that some things are for the good of the pack. Probably it's not good for a guy to be so rich he can buy a nuclear weapon and put it in his backyard.
Well, is it not fucked up that at the end of the day, right, if we really want to get to the root of the problem with all of this, is that the people that are the richest in the world for the most part, they are not, and this is kind of tried and true of what's happened in our country in terms of wealth. They don't bring much to the table. They exploit. Mm-hmm. If you look back at the richest people in the world 100 years ago during the Gilded Age, the people that are the founders of that corporate capitalism model, because you have to keep in mind, America was not a corporate capitalist or a capitalistic society until almost the turn of the century, which means we've only been a capitalistic society for about 100 years. The original 6 or 7 people are robber barons, as they refer to them, the Andrew Carnegies, the John D. Rockefellers, the Cornelius Vanderbilt. They all get that kind of notation of being the richest people in the world and the people that manufactured and created America, right? But the reality is they didn't create shit. They were managers. They were just incredibly good managers. They found the products and they invested money in either vertical integration or horizontal integration, and either created a dog eat dog, like you said, what takes away from the comment that was made earlier about how it's not a matter of helping anybody. You're literally shitting on people to get to where you get to, and you reach a level of, I just don't fucking care who you are, I'm going to buy you out. That mentality. That's not, I created something and gave to the people. Whereas traditionally in mankind, prior to the advent of a capitalistic society where the accumulation of greenback wealth was important, accumulation of stupid fucking goods, which, you know, there's that whole mantra of, you know, we buy things with money we don't have. We buy things we don't need with money we don't have all the time. These people are heroes for that because they have a fucking Lamborghini or they have a fucking
it's a Beowulf mentality, man. I just have the biggest pile of shit.
Yeah, and it's not, and it really ends up being more of an emperor's new clothes kind of thing, you know. And the ridiculousness of that is that traditionally in the heritage of mankind, at the end of the day, if they are not the ones that can provide for the group, the hunters, the gatherers, the creators, the people who actually invent, the people that bring something to the table, not the people that buy out competition and figure out how to manipulate each other. That's the negative byproduct of capitalism, is that it creates people. All you have to do is walk through a Target, a grocery store, anything, and realize, why are there 9 to 12 different types of fucking toothpaste? Why are there 100 types of mayonnaise? Like that kind of stupid shit is like, yeah, you might have created something. Did you really create something better? You know, are you really bringing something to the table? No, but you've offered people the illusion. Again, here's a Carlin reference. The illusion of choice. And the illusion of choice means that I'm going to buy something that's better than what somebody else has. It creates a currency system, but nobody's really outdoing one another. One person's interpretation of what is better or wealth, I could laugh at. There are people that view success as accumulation of goods. I don't view that as successful. What you bring to the table and what you offer to people, that's success. What your life experiences include, that's success. Being able to be a glorified manager of funding, that's not successful. That's manipulation. That's crushing out your fellow man to be able to rise up a ladder of imagery. It's nothing else. It's image. And that's fucking sad. That's the downside of mankind.
But at the same time, I mean,
the whole image thing,
it's really bad here because in the United States, imagery wins over everything, man. Everybody fucking loves the story, but they don't love the reality. They worship the flag, but not what the flag represents.
If you look at Apple, everybody praises Steve Jobs as, you know, the founder and all this. The reality of Apple was Steve Wozniak was the fucking, you know, that was the guy. That was the brains behind everything that was happening. But Steve Jobs was just the fucking salesman. But everybody regards Steve Jobs as this fucking brilliant, you know, mastermind of, you know, the underdog that came out on top. No, it was Wozniak that was the one that pushed all, that actually had the ideas. He was the one that went to, was it Sega or Atari? It was Atari, and he was the one that you know. There's a story where Jobs and Wozniak, Jobs acquired a contract with Atari that Atari said, for every component that you eliminate, you know, that you can downsize in our machine, we're going to pay you like $100 per component, and they ended up paying him $5,000. Now Wozniak and Steve Jobs were originally supposed to split that money 50-50. Well, Wozniak only got like $300 out of it. And Wozniak even said publicly, he goes, I would have done that for Steve anyway, because he really needed the money more. But he set the precedent for the whole relationship and the whole dynamic where Jobs just took the lion's share, and Wozniak got shoved into the fucking background, man. Like that, you know, we don't regard intelligence as much as we should as the actual fucking thing. We regard people who money manage and are the faces of concepts as the heroes. It's kind of like, and I'm sorry, Rick, but it's kind of like the front man of the band. All right. Okay. The front man of the band is the glue that forces everybody to come to the table and put the band together. But as a band member, I feel like it's an equal stake. It's an equal share.
And if they're good, and if the front man is good, they will believe the same thing.
But what ends up happening more often than not is the front man will willingly replace band members, even though they played an equal role in getting the band wherever it went. The front man will, in more often cases than not, it seems like, is willing to replace other members, and the other members are shoved into the background, even though they put equal effort and energy into creating whatever it was. You know what I mean? Like that's, you know, and that's, I have a moral problem with that. Personally, again, it's one of those things that disgusts me about the way that humanity and how we interact with each other is.
And it's something that's been a problem for, in terms of history, not in America, just in general. That seems to be what most civilizations go through. I mean, that the whole concept of modern philosophy as we know about it, starts at the concepts that Plato presents. And I know Plato wrote something called the Republic at one point in time, and Plato's argument against that was that society as a whole, was led in the wrong perspective in terms of hierarchy, what we took seriously. And people, like you just said, Stones made a comment that, intelligence, or at least understanding and intelligence, are not revered in society as beneficial as everything else is, right? If you own the ships that transport the goods, you're more important than the person that is, incredibly wealthy versus, in terms of knowledge and understanding. And more so now than ever, intelligence is looked at, at not in a negative light, but definitely watered down because the internet has the answers for everything. So why does everybody have to be so fucking smart, And I think that that's a gross deterioration of humanity. But he spoke about in the Republic that what if the world was run by philosopher kings? The idea that people who had some form of intelligence higher than everybody else were the people that were making the decisions, but not in a way where they were above everybody, in a way that they contributed to society the way that the same contributions were happening in the producer class, in the military class, and and if we kept everybody along the same part, and I think that's the part of socialism that people don't recognize. They worry about the financial aspect, everything like money distribution, land redistribution. What they don't understand is that in a semi-socialistic society, right, and we're not talking full-blown socialism, but in a semi-socialistic society, Stones as an EMT, right, or something like that, and Rick as a professor, and yada yada as the gas station attendant, or this person as the military person, like across the board, everyone mutually respects each other for what they do. And I think that one of the most telling things about our system, and what's fucking shameful about our system, is the conversation of minimum wage, where people continually berated McDonald's workers and people who work at Walmart and people who, the people that they looked at like, well, and the association goes in with, well, that's a kid job. How come you don't get a real fucking job? Like that idea that you're going to work at those institutions until you get the ability to move up to another job that's going to pay you more money because a monkey could do that job. And what the reality is when a fucking pandemic hits and you with the high profile job don't have a job, or you're fucking laid off, and those necessities that you want, the McDonald's and the fucking Walmart and the Target, those people get up and risk their health to go to work, to continue to work in those jobs that you thought were fucking comical. And they have moved up here in terms of necessity, where your job is bullshit at that point. Mm-hmm. And you don't thank them enough. You don't care. And I think that we have built up a projection of, well, your job is bullshit. You don't worry about the guy who's pumping your gas. You don't worry about the kid behind the convenience store. And they may be fucking 17 and they may be 50 fucking 5. And you don't know their life story. I mean, I met a girl, not to go too far on the topic, but down the street at Wawa, right? There was a woman that was working at Wawa. She left Wawa. She came back to Wawa, and I bumped into her at the counter. She's going to be about 61 years old. And I was like, so how do you like doing it? She goes, oh, this is my second stint. She's like, I did 25, or 20 years with this company, and I came back and I'm finishing up, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, no shit. And I'm thinking, like normal people would walk by her and be like, oh, you sell me my pack of cigarettes, or you ring up my shit. And what they don't realize is that woman is probably making not only $16 to $20 an hour because of the time she spent in there, but Wawa as a corporation offers a stock option that woman working behind the fucking counter has a retirement plan that equates to about $250,000 fucking dollars as a convenience store worker, where there's people who have high profile jobs that the minute that they get their job at $140,000 a year are living so far beyond their means because of that accumulation of wealth equals status concept that they're broke. And they make $200,000 a fucking year. They are literally in debt because they have to drive a car that equates to their job. They have to dress a certain way. They have to do and that woman who you look down upon when you go to get your pack of fucking Newports or whatever, and she's going home and she may live in a fucking 5-bedroom home. She may have taken care of her kids, put them all through college, everything. as a convenience store worker.
Can I also bring up like how that culture was created too? Like we watch a lot of sitcoms from the 80s. And it's really amazing to me how, like, first off, the social structure was built a certain way.
Are you going to talk about how amazing it is that everyone in their 30s owns a fucking house? Isn't
that
just
first
so
off,
shocking? And they have 2 cars and like a full family, and they all eat and have medicine.
It's incredible, but you always hear that like a girl will go on a date and she'll talk about what job the guy has. And he's like judged by it. Oh, well, he's just a convenience store worker. Oh, well, he's just this. Oh, he's just that. First off, the social structure of it is so fucking twisted. But that sort of like judgment towards people was like I feel like capitalism has sort of, and I don't know if it's accidentally or on purpose, it's kind of become a religion. And when you look back at how it was sort of like, pumped into our heads that it had to be a certain way. It sort of was like that because our media fed it to us that way too.
My first instinct is anything that's bad can always be traced back to colonialism. Indigenous societies were not built that way. We're not built like this, the way that we have our weird little fucking quirks and like the 12 types of toothpaste. There was one fucking toothpaste. Everyone had a role. Everyone had a function. No one was more important, and the goal was survival, and great things happened out of it. Art, culture, language, music, whatever. And that was all fucking erased thanks to British colonialism.
Well, yeah, if you look at it like that kind of idea of communal living, where you give a little, I give a little, we all come together. I do an experiment in my classes every semester. Every semester in the first week of the classes that I'm teaching, I go around the room and I hold a survey of what people can do, what their skills are. Like who in here can sew? Who in here know how to grow crops? Who in here know how to build a house with their bare hands or a dwelling with their hands? Who can hunt? Who knows how to fish and fillet fish? Who knows how to skin a deer? Who knows, like basic survivor skills. And some of them not even basic survivor skills, just things you can contribute to a society to where we wouldn't just murder you and eat your dead body because you're useless to us, right? So the interesting thing about that is almost like clockwork out of a class where I've got about 35 people in it. When you're done, by the time you're done, statistically, there's usually about 4 people that can raise their hand about 4 times. And they're the same 4 fucking people too, by the way. And then you get into the simplistic stuff where people are like, yeah, I guess I could throw seeds in the ground, and I guess I can, simplistic shit like that, to where at the end of the day, 70% of the class either are going to be the people who are used to reproduce and nothing more. They're there to perform, to procreate and create more of the structure, or they're going to fucking die off because they have nothing to contribute to society. Now, multiply that. Multiply that from the beginning of time to now, and what has happened since, colonialism by the British and the Dutch and the expansion of empirical leadership and stuff like that. And what has happened? Technology, which, don't get me wrong, technology can be a beautiful thing. We wouldn't be on this podcast without it. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if I'm looking at those people, and that's people between the ages of 18 years old and say 45 years old, if only 30% know how to contribute to society and the other 70% are sticks in the fucking mud, technology has actually kept them from procuring any skill that is beneficial to the body politic. It's crazy. It's crazy what people cannot do to help. And that's why when snowstorms or natural disasters take place, why stores go into fucking panic, because people don't know what the fuck they would do under the duress of not being able to have things at a touch of a button. In the middle of a pandemic, people are pissed off because their Amazon package doesn't show up in 24 fucking hours. And you're like, wow. Like, what do you think? I remember I saw an article about a week ago where people, I guess they wrote an article on the conditions of Amazon and Amazon's workers, and Amazon workers were complaining and falling asleep at work and for passing out. And the article, the headline of the article was, Amazon workers are being overworked at 55 hours a week. And 55 hours for anybody who's worked jobs before knows that 55 hours is not a lot. That's a little bit of overtime, but there's people out there working 60, 70, 80 hours a week to make ends meet. And the comments underneath the article online were atrocious, you know, because it was people self-aggrandizing that they've worked their ass off to get where they're at. And you're like, yeah, but this is the middle of a pandemic, and these people are working 55 hours, like break free, nonstop, 100 miles an hour to get you your stupid fucking thing you ordered online and get it on a fucking truck. So they're running from one warehouse to another all day, 100 miles an hour, because Amazon is pushing its fucking employees like lemmings on high speed to get that person to shit right now, get it immediately. You know, like those people are under stress. That doesn't equate to the normal average 55-hour a week job. So 55 hours in an Amazon factory, or a driver is Amazon who's working 14-hour fucking shifts driving a van to God knows the fuck where to deliver your package. You got to have some empathy for those people. And I don't think enough people take themselves out of the life that they live and objectively look at what is lacking and what is important.
Like I said earlier, dude, like there is just no like noticeable level of empathy in this country that's going to save us from ourselves, in my opinion. Like, first of all, I think it starts when you're a kid. I think it starts before you even develop the ability to speak, and you see it in the models around you, and quite frankly, the adults in this country don't show enough empathy for children to catch on to why that's a good fucking thing. It's not something that's pushed in schools as like basically part of the curriculum like it should be for kindergartners and first and second graders. It is in other countries. It's not a crazy idea. It's an idea that does exist. But like, the other issue is in this country, we glorify the idea of selling our bodies, but unless you're a female with like, you know, that like takes her clothes off in front of a camera, in that case, you're just a slut. But if you sell your body to Amazon by working until you're nearly dead and have a heart attack from stress, you're looked at as, well, look what he did for his family, instead of look at how our fucking system killed another person.
Yeah, how do you get from empathy to dollars? Like, how do you what's the path? What's the courses that what's the course of action that you need to take?
You know what it is, man? Here's the thing.
Well, I think first of all, we have to look at that situation as being outright wrong and not okay, because we're abusing other human beings in order to get our fucking $2 doodad from Amazon. Like, we have to accept empathy, and even when it means that we're slightly annoyed by the outcome of not getting our stuff so fast. Like, empathy even at our own detriment. And that's what I meant before about, well, you might not say you're racist, but if you side with the racist because you're going to get something out of it, what does that make you? Like, empathy to the point of your own detriment. Like, when Obamacare happened, people on Medicaid got utterly fucked, myself included. And I hate Obamacare because of what it did to me. But I am so happy it existed for my friends whose lives were saved because of it. I understand why it needed to be there. And I wouldn't be like, God, I wish it never happened, because I'd have dead friends right now. So, like, you know, people don't want to feel something if it puts something that they have easy or good or okay at risk, even to be slightly altered to the uncomfortable. And I think the outlook for working so hard that your fingers don't work anymore and having heart attacks and shit, like, you know, you see a lot of pictures of like Japanese workers. This is always like very, I don't know why in the United States media this is pushed so hard, but I see it very often. Pictures of Japanese workers where they are sleeping like by the subway waiting for their train because they're so overworked. It's very common. They say that like a Japanese businessman will just go to sleep on the sidewalk, not because he's homeless, but because they're so overworked they can't get enough sleep and all this stuff.
You do know Americans have surpassed the amount of hours worked per week average than the Japanese.
Right? I find it interesting that we are propagandized with that as if, well, look at them. And no one realizes that's us, guys. Like,
right.
Why are we?
And I'll tell you, my very rich aunt to this point, my very wealthy aunt, she passed away a couple of years ago, but I remember one of her quotes. She was a very profound person. She said, "Everything's a luxury until you have it, and then it becomes a necessity."
Mm-hmm. I think America is just obsessed with bootstrap culture. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Right, but without any logic behind it whatsoever.
I mean, it's funny because
they like the idea the way they like a logo.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like you were talking about this Wawa worker. My boyfriend works in the restaurant industry, and is constantly looked down on because it's like, oh, you work in a restaurant. He makes more money than I do. I'm barely educated. I have like a college degree and I work in like an office job. But my boyfriend makes more money than I do. And like I was fucking swindled into going into school, to a private school, to pay $64,000 a year. By the way, if either any of you have kids, do not send your kids to Drew University. But anyways, Drew University, please don't.
You ain't kidding. It's top 5 in the state of fucking money making colleges. It's terrible. They have great programs, but they are a fucking ripoff and a half when it comes to
shit. I have so many stories about Drew University and how I filled their diversity quota, and how all of the people who were diverse who lived on my floor ended up failing out because they couldn't take the level of academic, like the rigorous academic curriculum. Like I remember a girl who was literally from Linden, New Jersey, in the honors program in her high school, and was reading on, I would say, an 8th grade fucking level. And in one of our like intro to philosophy class, and I would always help her write her papers. And I was like, what the actual fucking fuck? How are we sending kids to this school and not giving them any type of support at all? But anyways, I digress. But I think like I was pushed, and part of it's also because I come from an immigrant family. So they're like, you have to go to school, you have to fulfill the American dream. This is what you have to do. And even people who come, like friends that I have or like relatives that I have who come here, they're like, that's like the American thing. They fucking idolize that. And if you go anywhere else, like I lived in Europe for like a tiny bit of time. I lived in France. That is fucking foreign. That is a foreign fucking concept. You take your break. You have your vacation days. You don't overwork yourself. You spend time with your fucking family. If you're sick, you go home. You stay home. Like nowhere else in the world.
Their lunches start at 1:00 and end at 3:30, and they have 3 beers, they eat, and they go back to work.
Yeah, and guess what else? Their productivity is almost no different than it is in the U.S.
Yeah, how crazy is that?
Probably better.
I think it's funny to your point is that like, so I'm a hybrid of
I'll be right back.
and I think it speaks volumes also in terms of how we view education and how we view labor. Because to that point, I've worked in restaurants since I was 14 years old, but I also went to school for 12 years, and I went to school because I was sold college. Well, my parents, people in my family, the people at the time, that was it. We were told to go to school because it was a better life. We weren't going to have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We were going to hit it rich because we went to college and got degrees, and we were going to be on another level. And, you were kind of pushed that idea because my dad was a truck driver. They didn't, he didn't want me to be a truck driver, and my mom didn't want me to have to work, 100 hours a week to be able to make ends meet. And, so like from 2 different perspectives, they were like, go to college. It'll be a better opportunity for you. And from that very notion, I already came from a school system where we frowned upon people who went to Votech, right? We look at those losers, right, who left halfway through the school day to go to mechanic school, to be a culinary expert, the people who went to, cosmetic schools. And those people were instantly, within 5 years, making 3 times my salary with 3-4 college degrees, and are well off. They have a family of 3 with a house that's 4 times the size of one I could afford, with a 401k or a retirement plan, and they own their own businesses and stuff like that. And that's beautiful, right? But we also have this kind of look upon those people where it's like, oh, so you wear your people have a misconception of the blue collar worker, that white collar working was. And so I still work in the restaurant business. All of my friends, everybody that's related to me, personally, is in the restaurant business. And if I go to work I still work maybe 2 or 3 shifts a week at restaurants. And
it's just a transitional phase until your acting career takes off, Rob.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is like the people that work with me, right? 2 or 3 in each bar that I work at, they're career bartenders. That's their job. They make they make
money.
They make a lot of fucking money, man. Like there's good money, and they work 5 days a week, and they work from say 3 o'clock in the afternoon to midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and they go home, and their sleep schedule is completely different, right? But like when you look at it, I had reached a point in my career where I was going to walk away from teaching. About 2 years ago, I was going to retire from the profession. Mm-hmm. I just was burnt out. I saw what was going on with the wave of how academics were changing and how schools were changing. And, I looked at it, people laughed at me. They were like, well, what the hell did you go to college for then? And you're like, I did my job. I had a job that was related to my degree, luckily enough, because that's not common. And, I decided that I wasn't going to do it anymore. I wasn't going to do it for the sake of saying I'm a college professor, because in reality, who gives a shit? And the reality is I got my fulfillment out of having my college degree and doing a job that degree allowed me to do. And I have that, and I could put that behind me. And my colleagues, the people I work with, were like, you'd be fucking nuts to quit. You have health benefits, you have a good job, it's sustaining, you make good money, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what would you do? And I looked at these people who have PhDs and have been teaching for 30 years and have written academic journals and did all this great stuff. And I looked at them and I was like, what do you mean, what the fuck I'm going to do? I'll go pump gas, I'll bartend. Like, I'll do that shit till I'm in my grave. I make just as much money bartending part-time that I do full-time as an academic. And I could work twice that amount and probably make my salary plus another 30% if I just worked full-time bartending or took on a second job. It's just that we have this ingrained viewpoint on what people do for a living and where their status is. And that's shit. It's a shit perspective.
I want to read some of the comments. Mike said, I went to a state school. I should have been a mechanic. He said, I don't use my degree. I had student loads I paid off. And at this point, my current boss has less experience and no degree. And Madison had said, I wonder if COVID is going to change the culture of you have to go to college to succeed. And I wish that I'm not 100% sure how to respond to that, other than I wish that people would go to college just to be just for the benefit of being enriched as a human being. Yes. Because that was the original reason why college was invented, I think, was that, people were, voluntarily they wanted to be enriched and smarter and better and more worldly. And if you were, more beneficial to society. And now I think the internet is doing that and also creating the image of doing that for people. I think some people think that they're more worldly or more or they're wiser because of the things that they're able to have access to, but they don't understand that Googling something is not the same thing as having wisdom or gaining wisdom or learning wisdom from somebody else. I don't know how it's going to change whether or not people think they are going to have to do it, but I hope that things move in a direction where people want to do it.
I cannot tell you how much I agree with that, because I hate the people who hate on the art history. I don't know. There was like a thing in like the early late 2010s, like, fuck you if you went to school and you studied art history and now you're complaining that you're working at Starbucks. You have every fucking right to study art history and not be in fucking debt and not be upset. Like, you can,
dude, point, that point that you just made about that comment, you know what I mean? Like there was memes all over social media at one point where it had the picture of that kind of that trendy dude with the fucking wool hat on, working as a barista, and it's like liberal arts degree, living with his parents in the fucking basement. And you're like, well, first of all, jerk off. A liberal arts degree is 2 years of a degree. It's not a 4-year college degree. Yep. So shut the fuck up. You know nothing about it because you didn't go to college. But secondly,
and how much was that liberal arts degree 20 years ago? How much did that cost you 20 years ago?
Fucking $8, Stones. It cost $8 fucking dollars to get a liberal arts arts degree. Like, don't get me wrong. I paid money. I went to Brookdale. I paid good money to go to Brookdale. It wasn't a lot of money. And the people that go to OCC, it's not expensive. You know what I mean? But like, but we're the most affordable community college in the state working there, you know, and that's a beautiful thing. And people are still struggling to get their kids to go there. And the average working student is having trouble affording just to go there. Forget Drew at $55,000-$60,000 a year, or Fairleigh Dickinson, who literally sucks money out of people. But you know, I think to your point about how people shouldn't be fucking shamed because they went to college is the problem with college. I explain to my students all the time, if you're in college to get a job, you're here for the wrong fucking reasons. Because even though, and I'm going to say this directly to Mike, when Mike says he went to not Stones, when Mike Pepe says he went to a state school and he racked up all this debt and all this kind of shit, and he doesn't do a job that relates back to his degree, it doesn't fucking matter, because at the end of the day, you did what you wanted to do. It made you a smarter person. It made you a better contributor to society. You know things that people don't know. And prior to that 1980s switch, where generations started to look at college equaling a better career, people went to college as a rite of passage to be smarter. And that was it. You revered the professors because they knew fucking everything. Half of them were alcoholics. They fell the fuck out of a car 5 minutes before they taught a class because they're so brilliant that they can't even put themselves together. But nobody fucking judged them. They revered them. They respected them. And then this switch happened where all of a sudden we gave no fucks about the welders and the pipe fitters and the people that really created America and built up America. We took it away. It became a competition between the jocks and the nerds, or the fucking nerds and the producers. And there wasn't one big harmonious contribution.
Right. What should have happened was the jocks should have been nerds, and nerds should have also been jocks, and everybody should have been able to do everything, and everybody should have fucking enabled one another to live to their full potential. But that's not what happened, because we're born into a country where every single person that's fucking born is told, you're the best, you're the greatest, this is the greatest country, you're an American, especially if you're a white male. You get everything you want. This pussy is yours. This fucking country is yours. This fucking house is yours. This is your shit.
Stroking themselves while they're fucking talking, like getting a hard on over the fact that we're from America.
Yeah, we get this. Dude, in 1992, Bill Hicks was talking about anti-intellectualism and how it was an infection on our fucking country. And when you talked about how the 1980s was a sort of shift in the way people viewed education, by the early 90s, you could see that start to happen.
Yeah. And think about it. Going to school for a liberal arts degree wasn't because people, and first of all, the concept of liberal arts for people is fucking mind-blowing, because they literally think you're learning leftist propaganda, like liberal arts, which is fucking hysterical, because it literally means liberal arts, a sprinkling of the fucking arts. So you are literally taking classes in everything to see what you like, but also to kill it in the world, because you know psychology, sociology, anthropology, and all of those things. When that equates to it, a 2-year degree, it would behoove, right? And we wouldn't even need community college or a liberal arts degree if the public school system was doing its fucking job. But we have watered it down so much that people have to go to school for that kind of shit just to get a basic understanding. You know, and that's what aggravates me about the interpretation of college and where it stands to this day.
It aggravates me that there's such a level of anti-education, anti-science, anti-critical thinking that, like, people are more likely to look at you as being foolish simply for going to school, even before you say, I went to school because A, I wanted to be this thing that requires a degree, or B, I love this thing and I just wanted to talk about it all the time. You know, basically going to learn for the sake of learning alone. It doesn't matter. The point is, in this country, you're more likely to be looked at as a fucking asshole and an idiot for bothering to waste your time sitting in a classroom when you could have just done it at home. It's such a sick infection in our brains to think of things that way. That's why I constantly bring up that I feel like this is the new Dark Ages. We just go out of our way to shit on anything that allows for the expansion of our minds. And like I said, I don't have any hope. Everything comes from a dark cloud when I start giving my opinion on it. But I mean, show me where that's not the case. Show me any signs of hope that that's not the case. Carl Sagan wrote The Demon Haunted World a long time ago now. And everything in there is still just as true now as when he wrote it. Of course, his book was a hell of a lot more about anti-science in our country. The idea of, belief being more powerful than scientific fact. But you can extrapolate from his book to really just deal with any type of education, any type of knowledge, any type of critical thinking. And it's really sick. I sometimes kind of wonder, and let's hope for the best here, that other countries don't really know how deep that runs, because we'd probably just be invaded like tomorrow if people really truly understood how little we actually give a shit about being intelligent. We just care about.
Can I go on a critical thinking? Can I go on a critical thinking rant? I made this point to Rick the other day.
Can you?
I feel like so I'm online going through, just fucking comments about searching for information that would probably go against the vaccine, right? And I come across this nurse, and she goes, FDA, show the nurses what information you have. So I was like, oh, somebody, let me ask. I was like, look, this is completely non-confrontational. My point here, I just want to know, what data sets are you seeking out to see what's going on with the vaccine that would be important to you, as a nurse? And she goes, oh, just excuse me, I was taught to critically think, and and because I'm a nurse, I was taught to critically think, and that's why I just want to have the information. I'd love to see what the FDA has. I was like, well, you could probably do a Freedom of Information Act. I was like, but that looks like it would take a while, and it's probably just going to get a summary. This was before I knew that the information was available through the FDA, what the summary was from the company, right? So she's like, oh, I would love to get a hold of that. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, so again, what data sets are you looking for? And she's like, I just want to know all the information that they have. I said, and then I was like, all right, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm not getting a lot of places with this woman. I was like, look, what medical journals, if any, do you subscribe to? What, or what authors do you trust? What, I personally can filter through the data that is studies based on general population, like chocolate makes you live longer. And I can see the data points that come with, actual studies of, specific points. So which one of these do you trust? And her response, I subscribe to medical journals, but I don't read any of them. And I'm like, yeah, you were taught to critically think. Fucking perfect. Fucking perfect. Holy shit. It's awful. So you have this delusion where people are trained that they think they're trained to critically think, but then, they don't read about anything and they don't research anything on their own.
Dude, so much of this country hinges on logos and taglines.
Yeah, it's really strange. It's really strange.
Well, guys, it sure is getting late. And I'll tell you what, Matt Hill is going to play out 2020 tonight.
Nice.
Dude, can we just all say happy birthday to Matt Hill right now?
Hell yeah, man.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Matt Hill.
The Disney version or the Disney version? Which happy birthday song are we singing?
Wait, are you going to flash us or something?
The TGI Fridays version.
Can we do the Sawa version? Happy birthday, happy birthday.
That's the one.
Yeah. And that's all they say. They just say it over and over again in a melody.
No, they say it's a party. There's a party in there. There's a party in the lyrics.
You don't want to get sued,
Sure. Well, hold on. Matt Hill,
Isn't that the best part of it?
Before you play, so Matt Hill's going to play us out tonight. First off, I want to thank everybody who watched tonight and shared tonight. I want to thank Kristen for joining us tonight. Kristen, do you have any final words you want to add this evening?
Go to school, find something you like, just fucking do it. Go to community college first. Don't go to Drew University. Have a very happy holiday and be safe. Wear your mask. Don't kill your grandparents. Don't, Don't do crazy drugs from strangers, but if you do, call your mom if you're having a hard time. That's it.
I'm gonna ask her the next time she's on if she can tell us what experiences she's had that led to that advice being given.
Oh my God. So many.
All right. So, Matt Hill, I would ask everybody to mute your mics or sign off at this point unless you have anything to announce or anything you want to add or finalize for the evening.
I just want to wish everybody a safe and happy holiday, happy New Year, and don't take your family for granted at this point. You know what I mean? It's.
Are we just saying? Just to clarify, are we saying Happy Holidays because we have a war on Christmas, or are we just?
No. We're saying Happy Holidays because the next time we come back is January 1st, the night of January 1st.
Because there are several holidays.
It's more than one, right?
You want to open up that fucking can of worms right before we're gonna fucking sign off?
I'm trying to fight Christmas.
Just to be fair, let's just be fair about one thing. Just like my argument with you, where I pointed out that the whole women and children first thing was invented by men, the war on Christmas was fucking invented by Christians. Nobody else gives a shit about it.
Merry Christmas! You want to grab somebody by the throat and be like, Christ Mass! And you're like, isn't that such a testament also to everything we've been talking about, that like you're not conscious enough to understand that you could be speaking directly to a fucking Jew when you say Merry Christmas, and just because they don't look Hasidic, you may be not offending them, just improperly celebrating something they don't celebrate. Like it's just kind of comical to me, man. You don't like Christmas? You're like, no, dude, I just understand that if I say Happy Holidays, it covers all the shit, because even if I don't agree with political correctness, I think I've nailed it all out by saying Happy Holidays. Is the word Christmas that fucking important to you, you asshole who hasn't been to church since you made confirmation?
It's the clearest and easiest example of persecution complex where persecution doesn't exist.
Right. Like
what else can we fucking seriously do to cater to Christianity in this country? Are you fucking serious?
We can shut your woman ass up and get you back to doing what you're supposed to be doing.
And that's the last step, I think.
Well, Kamala's not going to let that happen.
Kristen, anything else you wanted to add?
Nice job, Stones. You're a fucking idiot.
I don't think I have anything else to add, except I'm trying to fight all the Christmas. Just fist fight Santa. Anyways, no, I don't have. I'm good. Thank you guys for having me. Fist fight. Well, let's replace Baby Jesus with Grogu.
Santa.
For unto us a child is born, but it's like the Mandalorian Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
I mean,
I want the teenage Jesus, the one that fucks everybody up. Like, that's the story I want.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect thing to replace Baby Jesus with, because he's already sold at millions of Walmarts and shit across the country. So it's like, it's already marketed heavily.
I wish we would sell Middle Eastern Jesus and really piss a bunch of people off.
Dude, I wish that so much. I don't have any stake in the Christmas game, but I at least once every Christmas season, I wish that.
Like sell like Jihad Jesus to everybody and be like, what do you think now?
No, sell a fucking Jesus that's authentically what Jesus would have actually looked like. Like, you're selling a fucking illusion based on your own vanity, for fuck's sake. That's not what Jesus would have looked like, guys.
This is what Jesus looks like.
That's not what a fake person looks like.
That is not what a figment of your imagination looks like. I can attest to you. I have created. I know I can't even do it. I can't. Anything after this is blasphemy.
All right, can we just cut to Matt Hill, who's going to sing us out with a bunch of Christmas carols?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Diane says happy holidays to each of you.
Well, on that note,
my mom says happy birthday to Matt Hill.
Thank you. That's the holiday we're celebrating.
Yeah, Dobby now our gay apparel. Sing it up.
Kristen,
right, so
thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you, everybody who watched. Be safe this holiday. Matt Hill, you are going to play us out.
All right. So I guess a fitting song, Mad World. Going
fucking awesome, man.
Awesome, dude. Thank you so much, man.
No problem.
That is awesome,
Thanks
and
for
thank you,
having
Matt Hill, dude. You've been here since the very beginning.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I'm glad to be here. I should do it more. It's just work, man.
I know,
dude. If you're into the mad world, I mean, obviously you are, man. You know, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but Puddle's Pity Party has a great rendition of Mad
dude,
World.
He's awesome. That dude's awesome.
Yeah, man.
But that dude, he puts like fucking raw emotion, like in his music. Like,
no doubt.
I couldn't even touch that emotion that he does. But forget the clown makeup. Like, just for real.
Right. He's a cool dude too, man. Like I hung out with him. He played House Independence, and I was at that show, and we got to hang out afterwards. And he is just like a genuinely, like, he doesn't talk part of his act. Like he doesn't engage the audience with talking. It's like everybody has to be quiet and shit like that. But like after the show, he fucking came out. He actually hung out with like a group of us that were part of that whole house crew. And fucking, he's cool as shit, man. He's a fucking just a genuinely nice guy.
Yeah, I like his jams, man. I check him out all the time. But yeah, man, thanks for having me play. Messed up a couple times, but fuck it, it happens.
Well, I thought you were great, man.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I want to say thank you everybody who watched tonight and shared tonight and all that stuff. And we will see you again on January 1st. So, maybe with John Lackey. John Lackey might make a return.
Whoa.
I know, dude. Dude, John Lackey is fucking awesome talk OG shit, dude.
Did he ever write the review for the Auto Blow?
I don't think so.
I wonder if he broke it.
It doesn't hold up. But listen, man, I want everybody to have a good holiday and a happy new year, and we will be doing the Awesome Talk. I guess it's like the Awesome Talk, like New Year's hangover episode, because it's on January 1st at 9:30, so we will be here. So again, Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Matt Hill. Thanks to Kristen for being on tonight. And that's Awesome Talk. So have a good night, everybody.
Later.
Later.
Bye-bye.